Chapter 896. No. No, for a moment, everyone nodded in agreement with the young man's words. Naturally, there would be objections. At this moment, a weak but determined voice sounded. Everyone was stunned when they heard this voice. They turned their heads to look for the source of the voice. They saw a monk wearing a monk's robe with a string of Buddhist prayer beads in his hand. There were dense words engraved on it that could not be seen clearly. No thoughts? Everyone looked for the source of the voice. When they saw the true appearance of the person who spoke, everyone present was stunned because the person who spoke at this moment was a bald young monk. His face was kind, and a refined and sacred aura was emitted from the little monk's body. It was as if he was bathed in the Buddha's light, which warmed people's hearts. Wu Nian, you tell me, why do you say it's not, in the view of your Buddhist disciple? Tell me where this place is, since there is no power of space, and you said it's not the way of killing, then I want to ask, what is here? Yes. No thoughts, what you said is a bit wrong. There is no space power, and you said it is not the way of killing. Tell me, what is here that can make the cultivators who enter unable to come out? Yes. Yes, at this moment everyone was like a fence-sitter. After the first person spoke up, they all stood up with the wind. Alas! Looking at everyone's questioning appearance, Wu Nian's heart trembled, and a sigh rose in his heart. Looking at this group of people who came down with him from the holy world and claimed to be the proud sons of heaven, Wu Nian's heart was disappointed. Although there is no way of killing here, there is a huge natural formation here. But, as he spoke, Wu Nian's brows formed the word Chuan. But what? But, looking at the crowd, Wu Nian turned his head to look at the valley. Looking at the place where the fog was, a hint of doubt appeared. But, I don't know why, the people who entered before were fine, but recently, it seems that this natural formation has awakened. It can't be said to be awakened. Or it can be said that there was no condition to form a natural formation in the heart. At most, it was a treasure land, but I don't know why, but a natural formation appeared out of thin air here. Why is this so? Looking at the valley, Wu Nian's brows furrowed even tighter. He couldn't understand. The moment he arrived, he felt that there was no killing path here. But what puzzled him was that there was a natural formation here that shouldn't be here, but now it appeared. The terrain and mountains here didn't seem to have the conditions to form a natural formation. What? Appearing out of thin air? A natural formation? Everyone listened to what Wu Nian said. For a moment, everyone frowned and looked at Wu Nian with a look of watching a joke. Just now, Wu Nian's words made everyone laugh in their hearts. For his words, no one believed it. In their impression, natural formations were formed naturally. It was impossible for them to appear out of thin air. Moreover, they had never seen one before. What was even more mysterious was that the terrain here was simply not enough to form a natural formation. What's going on? Without paying attention to the eyes of the crowd, Wu Nian is very dignified at the moment. This matter is too strange. Even the veins of mountains and rivers that he has practiced have never had such a strange scene. Furthermore, this was the God realm. If there was such a situation in the holy world, there would be nothing to say, but this was the God realm, a place that he could not touch at all. TSK. Forget it. Look at him now. He's just a liar who doesn't know anything. There's no killing path. I think he wants to take it all for himself. Suddenly, a discordant voice appeared, followed by everyone's doubts. At this moment, the voices of doubt were like a tide, out of control. The little monk is quite sneaky. I didn't expect him to look so white and clean, so shameless. Indeed, in the holy world, Wu Nian's reputation is well known. I didn't expect him to be such a shameless person. Indeed, it really is a disgrace to all of us to call someone as scheming as him a comrade. It really is a disgrace to the saints' world. You, The people behind Wu Yen, looking at the people in front of them slandering their young master, how could they bear it? Thinking of the sect master and Wu Yen's father's instructions before they came out, suddenly, a group of people wanted to attack together. Although the other side has a large number of people, but in the face of the other side's slander, even if the other side is strong, it's not a problem to fight. Enough, just when everyone was ready to attack, the silent Wu Yen spoke, but at this moment, his brows were more than before. Tianzhu, don't be impulsive in the future. How can the disciples of Buddhism fight and kill? Besides, they don't understand, that's their business. They don't understand, it can only be said that they don't involve in this area. With that, Wu Yen said seriously, this matter ends here. Why don't I tell everyone that we'll be going in later? I want to see exactly who it is that is capable of creating such a magnificent formation in a place where there was originally no natural formation. At this moment, the young monk who was the leader of the group was about to seek justice for Wu Yen when he heard Wu Yen say so. He nodded and glared at the group of people, then turned his head and ordered Wu Yen's words. No, they said that since no one knows and is even more uncertain, it's better to go in and find out, so that it's clear at a glance. At this moment, someone suggested. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up and they all nodded in agreement. That's a good idea, I agree. Agreed. Good, I agree. At this moment, everyone nodded in agreement to the person's suggestion. In this regard, everyone took a break, tidied up, and stepped into the foggy butterfly valley. Alas! Reckless TSK, I really don't know how you became the holy world's heaven's pride. Looking at the crowd disappearing into the fog, Wu Yen still stood in the same place, shook his head helplessly and sighed. Master, at this moment Tianzhu stepped forward and looked at the disappearing figures of the crowd. His heart changed in a hurry and wanted to say something, but just as the words just blurted out, he was stopped by Wu Yen. I know what you want to say. Looking at Tianzhu, Wu Yen continued, this formation is very large. I'm afraid it will take a long time to really enter the butterfly valley, so don't panic. Besides, even if we go in, what can we do? The array formation still hasn't seen any clues yet, so don't worry. After saying that, his eyes were filled with anticipation and excitement as he looked at the entrance of the butterfly valley. His heart was already filled with anticipation. He really wanted to see who could make such a big commotion in the outer layer of the butterfly valley. In the fog, Sakura looked at the fog in front of him with a worried face. His heart was vexed. How could this be? You've tried all kinds of methods, but none of them worked. During this period of time, Sakura used all the methods he could think of, but the results were disappointing. The final result could be seen from where he was at this moment. Looking at the fog in front of him, and it didn't weaken at all, he couldn't help but think of the original body. If only the original body was here, with his identity as a venerable level formation master, I believe he can break through the fog here and enter the real butterfly valley. Of course, he wanted to return. After all, he wasn't by the original body's side now, and now the original body was very far away, so it was useless to think about it. As the saying goes, it's better to rely on oneself than on others. Looking at the fog, Sakura's heart trembled, and then a battle tactic appeared. Since this place is like an illusion, and it can also attract inner demons, then if this formation is an environment, then... Thinking about it, Sakura felt more and more that this was a possibility. After all, he didn't think about it before, but now, thinking of this method, he had to give it a try no matter what. If he didn't succeed, he would die trying. Thinking about it, Sakura closed his eyes tightly, ignoring the closing, and entered a state of selflessness. Everything around him, everything that he could perceive, turned into darkness at this moment. Damn it, if I don't succeed this time, the original body will leave directly. Thinking about it, he said fiercely, and then walked forward. At this moment, he didn't know what was around him, and it was possible that he would run into a wall. Phew, letting out a long breath, although his face was full of determination, he couldn't help but pray that he could enter the Butterfly Valley. After all, he had wasted so much time here. If he didn't go in, he would feel that he was losing out. With this thought in mind, and with a heart of luck, he walked on the path that he accidentally stumbled into. In a valley, there was a waterfall that was 100 feet tall, and there was a pool of water. The surroundings were covered in lush greenery, and little beasts were crawling and playing in the forest happily. At the center of the pool, a woman had already undressed and entered the pool. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and there were droplets of water on her face. Her skin was smooth, and there was a smile on her face that made people want to eat her. Overall, she was a beauty. If a woman's beauty index was 100 points, then the woman in the pool at this moment was 95 points. Hee, little white, you're messing around again. We've already taken over their territory. Although this place is ownerless, it's still our fault. Why don't you release the people you captured earlier? After all, they have family members. What if their family members get anxious? At this moment, the woman looked at the shore with a slightly guilty expression. However, at this moment, where the woman's gaze landed, there was no one. There was only a rabbit, a snow-white rabbit, but there was a tuft of red hair on its forehead, which was very eye-catching. Tian Ning, what are you talking about? A woman's voice sounded. However, the person who spoke was no one else. It could be said that it wasn't a person, but the rabbit with a tuft of red hair on its forehead. At this moment, the rabbit raised its head and looked at the woman in the pond. It looked like a senior teaching a junior a lesson to the girl called Tian Ning. Tianing, remember this. Since we've come here, this place is ours. They recklessly walked in here and even tried to do improper things to you. With this, we'll make sure they die without an intact corpse. They won't be able to enter the great Tao in life, and won't be able to enter the cycle of reincarnation in death. If it weren't for your pleading, how could they still be alive? Since their memories have been erased and they have become servants, there is no reason to release them. What's more, it took me a lot of effort to turn this place into a natural formation. Now that we have these people as bait, we can just describe this place as a man-eating place. Over time, they won't be coming back, right? Alright. You sigh. Forget it. Hearing Little White talk so much, Tian Ning continued to talk outside and took a bath. No, wait, did someone come in? Suddenly, Whitey, who had already laid down and was about to sleep, suddenly raised its head and looked at the entrance of the valley with a shocked expression. Then, you don't have to. Continue bathing. I'll go take a look. I want to see who is able to break through the natural formation I set up. Without waiting for Tian Ning to finish speaking, it rushed towards the entrance of the valley. Its speed was as fast as lightning, disappearing in an instant. Sigh. At this moment, Tian Ning, who was in the water, looked at the disappearing Whitey and sighed. Then, she ignored it. He came in? At this moment, a young man was holding a jade flute. His eyes widened as he looked at everything in front of him. At this moment, there was no longer fog. What appeared in front of him was lush green trees and colorful flowers. Looking at all of this, the young man's face revealed a smile and excitement. How could I, Sakura, be trapped by a small illusory formation? Really? At this moment, the young man was none other than Sakura, who had previously sealed his 5 senses. After a long journey, he had finally succeeded in carving out the place that had troubled him for a long time. Thinking of this, he raised his head and looked around. At this moment, he noticed that the Butterfly Valley was actually like this. The valley wasn't big, but the spiritual energy here was many times denser than outside. Of course, this was of no use to Sakura. The only thing that Sakura liked was that this might be a place where he could live a peaceful life for a long time. Perhaps it was because Linley had been distracted, which was why he had such a thought. If this lord was here, I'm afraid he would like this place very much. With that, Sakura smiled and walked towards the depths of the valley. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. At this moment, Sakura, who had just lifted his foot, heard the sound of something breaking through the air. His smile disappeared and he looked ahead with vigilance. A rabbit? Looking up, Sakura was stunned. His face was filled with astonishment. At this moment, what he saw was a rabbit rushing towards him. However, he quickly recovered from his astonishment. Although it was a rabbit rushing towards him, its speed, even he was a little shocked. Chapter 897. Not bad, kid. I didn't expect you to be able to escape from the power of nature. The rabbit stopped in front of Sakura and looked at him with a slightly shocked expression. However, this kind of shock disappeared in an instant and turned into indifference. Sakura had never seen anyone with this kind of indifference. Even if it was the original body, Sakura had never seen this kind of expression before. Looking at the rabbit, Sakura smiled. Heh. It seems that what I thought before was right. This is a natural formation. He had thought of this possibility before, but he didn't expect that this kind of environment and terrain could produce a natural array. However, at this moment, after hearing the rabbit's words, Sakura's imagination was at least confirmed. You thought of it before? The rabbit asked. That's right. To be able to make me go around in circles for such a long time, it's either that array is especially powerful or... Sakura smiled and continued, or that array is a natural array. Speaking until here, Sakura was a little grateful to Lin Rei because he was Lin Rei's clone and Lin Rei's array was at the revered level. Although he didn't inherit Lin Rei's array, but it was impossible for an ordinary array to trap him and Lin Rei's clone. I've underestimated you. Looking at Sakura, the rabbit smiled and nodded. Say it. Who are you? Why are you here? What race are you? Do I have to answer your question? Looking at Sakura's question, the rabbit looked at him strangely. Yes, of course. Because if I don't know your name, I can't always call you hey later, right? That's true. For a moment, the rabbit didn't react and subconsciously spoke of his origin. Kid, you'd better watch yourself. Saying that, the rabbit lifted his arrogant head and said, This young master is called Whitey. As for my race? At this point, Whitey couldn't help but pause for a moment before continuing, Look at my handsome and dignified appearance, could it be that you still can't tell? Young master is a dubhy rabbit, a purebred, boring and noisy purebred dubhy rabbit. Handsome? Yes. Why don't you have any? Heh. Hee mighty? F***ck, that's a must, right? Why can't I see it? At this moment, Sakura was dumbfounded. He had seen shameless people before, but it was his first time seeing someone as shameless as Xiao Bai. However, he was right about one thing. The dubhy rabbit was a purebred. Mighty. Handsome. How shameless. You clearly have a bad hobby. Seriously. Looking at Little White, Sakura couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Then, with a serious expression, he looked at Little White and continued, Then where did you come from, why are you here, and, as he spoke, he turned his head to look at the natural formation behind him and said doubtfully, This natural formation shouldn't appear here. The terrain here doesn't have the conditions to produce a natural formation. Oh, not bad, I didn't expect you to know about this. Looking at Sakura with a surprised expression, Little White didn't expect him to know about this. He ignored Little White and looked at him with a doubtful expression, waiting for his answer. All right then. Understanding Sakura's gaze, Little White continued, Since you have such good eyesight, then I will tell you. This formation was made by young master, but, as he spoke, his originally excited gaze revealed a trace of complaint, but this formation is too big, and I couldn't control it for a moment. In the end, my mental power became extremely sluggish, and I need to rest for a long time before I can recover. You made it? Looking at Little White, Sakura was shocked. One must know that even with Lin Rei's powerful formation, he didn't have the ability to set up a natural formation. But the person in front of him, the rabbit in front of him was actually able to do something that Lin Rei couldn't do. Just thinking about it was enough to make people shocked and exclaim in admiration. If Lin Rei knew about it, then that's not right. That's not right? Just when Sakura was shocked, Little White's bewildered voice entered his ears. That's not right. Damn it, didn't I come here to investigate who came in and wanted to refine him into a puppet? What am I doing now? Revealing my background? Am I crazy? At this moment, Little White suddenly came to a realization. Thinking of his purpose of coming here, and what he did after coming here, Little White couldn't help but want to give himself a big slap. Turning me into a puppet, tsk, this idea is indeed not bad. When Little White was talking to himself, Sakura came back to his senses. However, when he heard that the food in front of him wanted to refine him into a puppet, for a moment a cold intent rushed out from the bottom of his heart. That's right. Raising his head and looking at Sakura, Little White straightforwardly said without a trace of concealment, "Looking at your performance when you first arrived, I was very satisfied. Originally, I wanted to erase your consciousness and make you my servant, but, after seeing you, I changed my mind. I feel that it's too much of a pity to make you a servant, so, you want to refine me into a puppet, right?" Without waiting for Little White to finish, Lin Rei continued. "Yes, that's right." Hearing that Sakura was right, Little White immediately nodded his head in agreement. That's a good idea. But what's the difference between a servant and a puppet? Aren't they both working under you? Regarding this question, Sakura was a little puzzled. Of course it's not the same. A servant is a fool without any thoughts, an idiot, a plaything. A puppet is different. He has thoughts. Not only does he have thoughts, he will also retain everything that he had when he was alive, such as cultivation, such as battle techniques, such as battle experience, and so on. You've thought it through quite clearly. Hearing Little White's differentiation, Sakura understood that Little White had such a plan. However, it was a pity that he was just a clone. Although he had such a powerful cultivation base, as long as his physical body was destroyed from the inside, then his cultivation base would be completely gone. Of course, the most important thing was that Sakura didn't feel that he could be subdued and refined into a puppet. On the contrary, he felt that he could capture Little White and give it to Lin Rei. After all, he was able to set up a natural formation. Just this point alone was already very, very precious. He would definitely improve, and Lin Rei would be especially fond of him. You've thought it through, but what? Little White suddenly spoke. But I don't want to be refined into a puppet by you. On the contrary, I want to capture you and give you to someone else. I believe that person will repay you. You? What did you say? Little White was furious. Seeing Sakura saying that, Little White was unhappy. What did he mean by that? Wasn't he just treating him as an ordinary rabbit? Heh. You think I'll say it just because you want me to? Wouldn't that be too embarrassing? However, as he spoke, Sakura changed the topic and continued, "Since I like you, then I'll tell you one more time. Obediently come into my bowl. No, obediently come into my pocket. Hurry up, don't force me to make a move." As he spoke, he placed the jade flute in front of his chest, as though he was prepared to fight at any moment. You're unforgivable. For a disobedient person, even if you're refined into a puppet, it wouldn't be of much use. Whoosh! In an instant, in front of Sakura's eyes, Little White moved. Her body trembled slightly to the side, and she disappeared from her original position. Not bad, this movement technique. Seeing Little White's figure suddenly disappear, Sakura was shocked and his face revealed a ridiculing expression. However, although Sakura's face had a ridiculing expression, his heart was already extremely heavy. With regards to Little White's speed, even he was slightly unable to catch up. Instant kill technique, die for me. Suddenly, a furious roar came from behind. However, accompanying the roar was a bone-chilling murderous intent. How is this possible, this killing intent? Not good. The moment he felt the killing intent, an ominous premonition appeared behind his head. In the next moment, Sakura reacted instantly. The jade flute appeared in his hand and his right hand grabbed the top of the jade flute. From bottom to top, a cold light appeared and a long sword was pulled out from the jade flute. Sword in the flute, I haven't touched you for a long time. This time, let's have a good fight together. As he spoke, he pulled out the long sword and blocked in front of his chest. However, at this moment, Sakura didn't stay idle. He kept the jade flute and the sword scabbard to the north. Following that, sky-splitting palm was brewing and rushed towards the little rabbit. Everything happened in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, only to see a palm imprint rushing towards the rabbit, and in the hands of the rabbit, an unknown object condensed into a 3-foot-long blade of cold light. The rabbit was like a sharp sword as it rushed towards the Sakura. This brat, looking at the palm print that was rushing towards her, Little White's expression turned heavy. Just based on this move, there weren't many people who could receive it. However, but the person in front of her not only reacted quickly, he was also able to use a battle technique when he was defending. Just this kind of control. TSK. You want to rely on this palm print to make me retreat? You're looking down on me too much. Looking at Sakura, Little White clenched her teeth with a face of disdain. However, her heart was already so heavy that it was indescribable. Is that so? Looking at Little White, Sakura smiled. Since that's the case, then break it and see. However, if you can't receive it, PFFF, then I won't look down on you. Hearing the laughter from Sakura, Little White's competitive heart instantly appeared. Following that, the long sword in her hand turned around and rushed towards the palm print. Break for me, boom! With a loud bang, the earth began to tremble. Smoke and dust filled the air, and the surrounding lush trees and flowers were instantly turned into ashes at the moment of this resonance, vanishing into thin air. This young master is the strongest. How is this possible? PFFF. Suddenly, the sound of flesh being cut rang out. Little White's complacent tone also came to an abrupt stop at this moment. Sigh. Looking at the ground filled with smoke and dust, Sakura's face revealed a trace of light. I did say that it was a palm print, but I never said that there were no other attacks hidden in that palm print, right? It turned out that previously, at the instant when the heaven-splitting palm was struck out, the assassination technique was hidden within the heaven-splitting palm. As long as the heaven-splitting palm was broken, then the assassination technique would automatically activate and attack. And this method was something that Sakura had learned and fused in the assassin organization. For this move, he had tried no less than 10,000 times before creating this tactic. PFFF. The sound of vomiting blood rang out from the smoke and dust, and the sound of heavy breathing could be heard. Little White's voice came along with the sound of laughter. You're not bad. You can even create such a tactic. Not bad. Phew, a gust of wind appeared out of thin air, and then, the place that was originally filled with smoke and dust was now completely swept away by the gust of wind, and the scene within was also revealed. Little White was seen lying on the ground with a pool of blood on the ground. It was very abnormal. You're not bad either. You can take this move of mine. Not bad. As he spoke, Sakura's face became more dignified. He clearly knew that he had used 60% of his strength just now. With such strength, even an ordinary ultimate god would not be able to block it, but now... Little White Rabbit in front of him had completely blocked it. And looking at his appearance, although the ground was mottled with blood, it was just like that. Although it looked difficult to see, Sakura knew that Little White Rabbit was only slightly injured. Hee, assassination technique. I didn't expect that looking at your elegant appearance, you would actually know such a method from the assassin organization. But, as he spoke, Little White's gaze fell on the sword and the flute in Sakura's hand. His eyes were filled with passion. Your sword is quite interesting. I wonder if you can lend it to me to take a look? Sakura. Looking at Little White Rabbit's passionate gaze, Sakura felt helpless in his heart. They were obviously in the middle of a battle, but after what he said, it seemed like a friendly spar between friends. But Sakura could not possibly let him look at the sword in his hand, because, the moment he took the sword and the flute, he swore that if the sword was there, he would live. If the sword was destroyed, he would die. So, not giving. He was very resolute and did not have the slightest intention to let the other party have any fantasy. It's just taking a look. Is there a need to be so resolute? Seeing that Sakura did not allow him to look, Little White became anxious. Although they were still in the middle of a battle, he had a hobby, and that was swords. As long as he saw a novel sword, he wanted to see it clearly. No matter what, even if he was in the middle of a battle, it would not affect his desire to admire the treasured sword. If the sword is there, I would live. If the sword is destroyed, I would die. If you want to see the sword, come and take it. I will not stop you. Seeing Sakura's resolute look, Little White was stunned and was filled with helplessness. However, his curiosity towards the sword and the flute was even heavier. Chapter 898. The more Little White thought, the more tormented his heart was. But looking at Sakura's stubborn look, Little White smiled bitterly. Sigh. I didn't expect to meet such a stubborn person, but... Thinking, Little White's eyes fell on Sakura's face and didn't look at anything else. It was as if everything around him didn't exist. Other than Sakura's face, nothing else existed. Of course, how could Little White forget about the sword and the flute? But now he thought of something more interesting. What are you looking at? Feeling Little White's fiery gaze, Sakura wasn't used to it for a moment. Just now she was shouting to kill, but now, what is she doing? I'm absolutely sure that you're actually quite good looking. Sakura. Hearing Little White's words, Sakura was stunned. His face was full of astonishment. Damn, what's this situation? What do you mean I'm quite good looking? What are you trying to do? Human and beast hobbies. Hiss. Oh my god. The more Sakura thought, the more he felt a chill in his heart. Inexplicably, at this moment, Sakura felt his chrysanthemum tighten. A chill went up from the bottom and penetrated his whole body. Seeing Sakura's strange and alert look, Little White was stunned. Then, he thought of the things that grew in Sakura's mind. For a moment, Little White was even more speechless. He couldn't help but laugh and scold. Damn, what are you thinking? This brother is... wrong, this lady's hobbies are especially normal. Goo. Lady? At this moment, Little White's voice changed. Previously it was a slightly neutral voice, but now it was indeed a girl's voice. Her voice was very sweet and it sounded like a mischievous character. Looking at Little White with a strange look, Sakura's heart trembled. Then, he smiled bitterly. She's a good girl, but she acts like a man all day long. You even called yourself a young master before? Thinking, the corner of his mouth rose and a smile appeared on his face. Looking at Sakura, Xiao Bai's pupils widened as she looked at Sakura with slight anger. You don't have to care about me. I can do whatever I want. Even if this lady doesn't say anything, you don't have to care. The sudden roar made Sakura dumbfounded. He didn't know what happened to Whitey. However, at this moment, Sakura sensed something even more interesting. Killing Chi. That's right, it was precisely the murderous aura. Just as Little White roared and rushed out, an intermittent murderous aura was exposed in front of Sakura. Murderous aura? Why does Little White have murderous aura? It did before, but why would a dubhy rabbit have such a dense murderous aura? This is something that even I can't compare to. How many people did he have to kill in order to accumulate so much? The more he thought about it, the more curious he became about Little White. But looking at the current situation, a battle? They couldn't fight anymore. I want to go in and take a look. I wonder if I can? Suddenly, Sakura opened his mouth. However, at this moment, Little White was stunned. But it was only a matter of a moment. After regaining her senses, she nodded repeatedly. Of course, if you want to take a look, go ahead. Shouldn't you be shouting to kill me earlier? At this moment, Sakura couldn't adapt to Little White's 120 degrees change. After all, the previous Xiaobai was the kind of person who was unreasonable but silly and adorable at the same time. You talk so much nonsense. If I ask you to go in, then go in. If you continue to be long-winded, be careful that this lady will go back on her words. Alright then, thank you, sir. Sakura couldn't help but tease. After cupping his hands, he walked towards the depths of Butterfly Valley. Damn you! Seeing that Sakura didn't forget to tease her before leaving, Little White couldn't help but laugh and scold. However, the current Little White didn't seem to be complaining at all. Instead, she was looking forward to it. Tianning, didn't you always say that you were bored? Didn't I send you such a person? Although his cultivation is still a little lacking compared to me, it's enough to be able to chat with you. If Sakura was here and heard Little White's words, he would probably burst out laughing. What do you mean by a little lacking? You don't even need a draft when lying. I was the one who was injured, but now, however, Sakura didn't know that the reason Little White let him in was because she wanted him to be her friend's friend, a companion that she could chat with. I can finally rest. Looking at the direction Sakura left, Little White chuckled. A human-like smile appeared on her rabbit face. Then, she looked at the mountain peak and disappeared in a flash. At this moment, in the depths of Butterfly Valley, after getting Little White's permission, Sakura began to indulge himself. Looking at this picturesque scenery, Sakura's heart was very calm but also not calm. Thinking about Little White's murderous aura, he couldn't help but be curious. Looking left and right, looking at the stalks of spiritual herbs growing on both sides of the road, Sakura had an impulse to remove them. The sun on the horizon, if it turns to the sun. Just when Sakura was looking at the spiritual herbs on both sides of the road, a clear and pleasant voice came from not far away. Accompanying the voice was the sound of water. There's someone else? Looking at the spiritual herbs on both sides of the road and listening to the pleasant voice that came from afar, for a moment his heart began to struggle. Looking at Jiang Zhongxing's choice last year, Sakura's heart was filled with a difficult choice. Brother Yo, the pleasant voice became louder again. In an instant, the moment the voice became louder, Sakura's heart trembled violently. His heartstrings that had never trembled before began to fluctuate. However, the moment his heartstrings fluctuated, Sakura had an answer in his heart. TSK. This alchemist wants to see what kind of woman she is to be able to have such a beautiful and moving voice. After saying that, his figure flashed and rushed towards the direction of the voice. His speed was as fast as lightning. However, at this moment, at the entrance of the Butterfly Valley, in the fog, a show of killing each other appeared. A group of 40 to 50 people all entered the fog. However, they originally had an excited heart and wanted to enter to search for the way of killing, but after entering the fog, they were all wrong, they regretted, they were afraid, unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. So what if they regretted, they had to buy it for what they had done. This was inevitable. Just like Sakura, the moment everyone entered the fog, they saw that each and every one of them was brought into their own illusion by the array. However, the reason why the illusion was called an illusion was because the illusion was like a mirror. It could see the things that everyone didn't want to express in the deepest part of their hearts, even the ghosts in the deepest part of their hearts. In front of the illusion, everything would be exposed, just like now. Everyone entered their own illusion, and the ghosts in the deepest part of their hearts were all released at this moment. Just like a wild beast breaking free from its cage, even the wild beast that was released at this moment was even more ferocious than before, even more cruel. At this moment, the young man who was sowing discord earlier had a cruel smile on his face as he looked at the few people in front of him. Looking at them, the young man's face was filled with blood. "Master, why didn't you enjoy it yourself? Why did you do this? You said before that I'm the disciple that you're most proud of, but why do you always have to be on guard against me?" At this moment, what the young man saw was not the companions who entered with him, but the ghosts in the deepest part of his heart, his master. "Humph, bastard, what are you trying to do? Could it be that you want to kill your master?" At this moment, in the illusion, the master who was called by the young man looked at the young man and roared. "Ha ha ha." Hearing what the old man said, a trace of fierceness rushed out from the young man's eyes. "Killing my master, this saying is not bad." "You, shut up." Without waiting for the old man to finish speaking, the young man interrupted. "Since you're so selfish and narrow-minded, then I'll help you and let you get rid of your current body. Remember, don't thank me." After saying that, the young man moved. His figure flashed and a 3 feet long cold light appeared in his hand. He placed his sword in front of his chest and instantly struck out a sword seal. PFFF, PFFF, PFFF. The sound of flesh being torn apart could be heard in the fog. However, at this moment, the few people who were originally in front of the young man were all torn apart and separated from their bodies. As for the young man's sword, scarlet blood was dripping down from the tip of the sword. This scene did not only happen at the young man's place. The same thing was happening at other places in the fog. At this moment, on the tallest mountain peak in the Butterfly Valley, Whitey was lying on top of it. Its gaze never left the formation at the entrance of the valley. Kill. As long as there are more of you, the essence of your sages will all enter the formation. In this way, the formation will inevitably change. At that time, even if a better cultivator comes, it will be useless. Sakra did not know about all of this. Even if he knew, he would not stop them. After all, he was neither a relative nor a friend of those people. In the deepest part of the Butterfly Valley, not far from a pond, Sakra slowed down his speed. The reason for that was because the singing voice was not far from here. With an expectant gaze, he slowly walked toward the direction of the singing voice. "TSK, why isn't Whitey back yet?" At this moment, in the middle of the pond, Tian Ning was looking at the entrance of the valley. Her expression was filled with worry. Even though she knew of Whitey's strength, but the world was vast and filled with all sorts of strange things. It was possible that a powerful existence would come and suppress it. As the saying goes, it's better to be safe than sorry. The world was vast and filled with all sorts of strange things. Who could say for sure what would happen? With a sigh, the worried expression in her eyes became even more intense. Then, she turned around and planned to go ashore. Splash, a scene of a hibiscus emerging from the water appeared. Coincidentally, the instant Tian Ning emerged from the water, Sakra arrived. When he arrived at the side of the pond, he raised his head and saw a naked figure there. Thump thump, thump thump. Seeing that figure, Sakra was stunned on the spot. His eyes were fixed on that figure, and he was unable to shift them away. The moment he agreed, his heart thumped like a drum. The sound of his heartbeat became louder and louder. "Who is it?" At this moment, Tian Ning, who was walking toward the shore, sensed that someone was probing behind her. She turned around to look. But the instant she turned around, Tian Ning was dumbfounded. She saw a man who suddenly appeared and was looking at her body in a daze. Ah! A sharp shriek sounded. Even Whitey, who was leisurely watching the show on the mountain top, heard it. Hee Tian Ning, you can't blame me. After all you've been saying that it's boring every day. I'm just thinking for your sake, understand? Tisk, I'm truly noble. After saying that, his gaze fell on the magic array again. Sorry. At this moment, Sakura, who was standing beside the pond, instantly returned to his senses when he heard that sharp shriek. Then, he quickly bowed and apologized. His voice was sincere and, this was the first time Sakura apologized to someone. But what he didn't expect was that the first person to apologize was actually a woman. You? Murderous aura? Suddenly, a glint of light flashed through his eyes. His bent body involuntarily straightened as his gaze landed on Tian Ning once more. But the difference was that Tian Ning had already put on her clothes neatly. Why do you have murderous aura on you? Also, since you're here, then Whitey should be yours, right? If that's the case, why do both of you have murderous aura on you? Moreover, it gives me the feeling that the murderous aura on both of you is just one. This murderous aura is especially pure. Even Lin Ray isn't as strong as both of you. Tell me, why is that? A series of questions were asked by Sakura. Tian Ning, who was originally filled with intentions, suddenly froze on the spot when she heard these questions. Her eyes carried a strange gaze as she looked at Sakura. You can feel the murderous aura in our bodies? That inexplicable sentence caused Sakura to be at a loss. He didn't understand what that sentence meant, but he still said it. That's right. The murderous aura in both of your bodies is ordinary. Such pure murderous aura, I have never seen it before. Looking at Sakura, Tian Ning hesitated when she said the word. At this moment, she seemed to have forgotten that just a moment ago, this man in front of her had already seen through her completely. However, at this moment, the two of them seemed to be the same. It's just that Sakura was thinking more. The instant he felt that Tian Ning's body had the same murderous aura as Whitey, his thoughts didn't stop for a moment and he began to think. Then, after he refuted the strong thoughts, finally, an extremely high probability thought appeared. The Tao of Slaughter. Could it be that after this Tao of Slaughter came to the divine realm, it was split into two and in the end, it gave birth to intelligence and changed its form? Chapter 899. I'm impossible. Although the origin of the great Tao is powerful, but, thinking about it, Sure Tian sank into deep thought. Suddenly, the scene became quiet. It was so quiet that Tian Ning, who was not far away, felt a little scared. This person, how did this person sense my killing intent? Why can he sense it? Clearly, I have refined my killing intent. Apart from those few people in the holy world, no one else should be able to sense it. Why can this person sense it? Could he be from the holy world? Moreover, he is coincidentally the disciple of those few people? At this moment, the two of them had their own guesses. Neither of them knew what the other was thinking. However, the two of them were thinking in the same direction. It was just that they were not the same person. What's wrong with those two? Didn't they say it was boring? Why are they not talking now that there's someone here? At this moment, Little White, who was lying on the mountain peak, glanced at the pool. Seeing the two of them like that, Little White sat up and was puzzled. Little White, this person can sense the killing intent in our bodies. Do you think he is the disciple of those few people in the holy world? At this moment, Tian Ning sensed Little White's aura. She did not hesitate and asked through voice transmission. What? Hearing Tian Ning's question, Little White was shocked. Her pupils shrank as her gaze fell on Sakura, as if she wanted to see through his origin and everything. However, the more Little White observed, the more her brows furrowed together. Her expression became even more puzzled. That's not right. The cultivation methods that those fellows practice were all given to them by that old man, Hong Jun. Based on our conversation with that bastard, I don't feel the slightest aura of those fellows or even Hong Jun from this person. Instead, Instead? Instead what? Tian Ning asked anxiously. Seeing Tian Ning's anxiousness, Little White did not hide anything. She said directly, "How should I put it? I feel like he is missing something. Moreover, as the saying goes, humans have 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls. Even sages are no exception. However, you don't sense the slightest bit of the 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls on this kid." What? Hearing that, Tian Ning was shocked. What kind of concept was that? The 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls were the foundation of a human being. Without the 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls, one would be no different from a puppet. Yes, this kid does not have 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical forms, but his bloodline is very powerful. Who exactly is this person? Why would he appear here at this time? Looking at Sakura, Tian Ning muttered to herself. "Oh, right." Suddenly, the silent Little White slapped its forehead and said, "There are 2 kinds of people in this world who don't have 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls. Who is it? Why don't I know?" Looking at Xiao Bai, his eyes were filled with doubt. It's actually very simple. The first is the puppets. Even after they are refined, they still don't have 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls. But the second, what's the second one? I say, why are you buying a lawsuit with me? Hurry up and tell me, or else, Hearing Tian Ning's words, Little White's face fell. She continued, "The second type of person is the soul clone. The soul clone only has a bit of the main body's mental energy and divine sense, so, then he is?" Since Little White explained it so clearly, Tian Ning naturally understood. However, she did not know if Sakura was a puppet or a soul clone. "Sigh, seems like I have to cram some lessons for you when I have time. You don't even know how to do such a simple thing." Seeing Tian Ning was like a cultivator, Little White rolled her eyes and patiently explained to Tian Ning. Puppets don't have any thoughts because they don't have souls, and they don't have the host's mental energy and divine sense. But soul clones are different. They are separated and have their own consciousness and thoughts, other than the 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls, so he is a soul clone. At this moment Tian Ning continued. Not bad." Smiling, her gaze fell on Sakura. At this moment, Little White was curious about who Sakura's main body was. If he could have such a powerful soul clone, then what about the main body? How powerful would the main body be? Is he a sage? Or… No. Suddenly, Sakura came back to his senses when Little White and Tian Ning were secretly probing. "Young lady, this one is Sakura. It is presumptuous of me to suddenly visit you. I hope you can forgive me." It's fine. It's fine." Sakura's sudden action stunned Tian Ning. That's good." Seeing that the woman before him didn't intend to blame him, he looked at Tian Ning and said with a pleading tone, that, if you have something to say, just say it." Tian Ning said, Okay. Actually, it's like this. Just now, I sense the killing intent in your body. Previously, at the entrance of the valley, I saw a dubhy rabbit called Little White. She also has the killing intent in her body, so this one has a request. I hope you can agree to it. Seeing Sakura acting like this, Tian Ning was a little embarrassed. Go ahead and say it. As long as it is within my ability, this little girl will absolutely not shrink back. This lowly one wishes to examine Mrs. Pulse. Because the killing aura in your body is too pure and dense, I wish to investigate what exactly happened to your body for you to be able to endure such a powerful injury. You can't. Tian Ning, tell this brat that you can't. Sakura had just finished speaking, and before Tian-Ning could say anything, Little White's urgent voice sounded in her mind. Tian-Ning, you can't. You must not let this brat check your pulse. Although I don't know who he is and I know he is only a clone, but how powerful is this fellow's original body to be able to create such a powerful clone? However, this also proves that the other party is an extremely powerful existence. Furthermore, that fellow should be in the divine realm. After all, if he came down from the sacred realm, the aura on his body would also be from the sacred realm, and not the same as now. Hearing Little White's words, Tian-Ning frowned and asked in puzzlement, "Is there a need to go through so much trouble?" "Of course there is. Miss? At this moment, Sakura, who was at the side, looked at Tian-Ning in a daze. His brows were tightly knitted together. Because Sakura thought that Tian-Ning didn't agree to it. That, if it's inconvenient, then forget it. I was just saying it. Please don't take it seriously. Oh, I didn't want you to see it in the first place." Perhaps because she received too much information earlier, Tian-Ning subconsciously said what was in her heart. She didn't hide anything and her words were very straightforward. Alright. Sakura felt very helpless when it came to Tian-Ning. However, although he wasn't sure if the two before him were the incarnations of the Tao of Slaughter, he knew that the two of them were inseparable from the Tao of Slaughter. Moreover, he didn't know. However, he absolutely believed that as the original body, Lin Rei would know it very well. After all, the original body was supported by the system. After a moment, Sakura felt relieved. At this moment, he made a decision. He would follow the person before him and inform Lin Rei to come over. As long as Lin Rei arrived, then everything would be clear. The sky gradually arrived while the two of them were in an awkward situation. As the saying went, dark clouds pressed down on a city, threatening to destroy it. At this moment, just like that kind of scene, the sky darkened as if the end of the world had arrived. The entire Butterfly Valley's original brilliance was completely bathed in darkness. "Fellow Taoist, how long are we going to stand here? I'm hungry. Moreover, the sky is dark. Let's." At this moment, Tian-Ning opened her mouth. Her voice was trembling as if she was afraid of something. To Sakura, coming to Xie Feng in the dark was like coming to a day. Moreover, he believed that Tian-Ning was the same as him. However, since the other party said so, then, let's go. Let's find a place to stay and barbecue some meat. At the same time, tell me what's so fun in this Butterfly Valley. After saying that, Deshir Tian seemed to be the host. After saying that, he turned around and walked towards Tian-Ning. The moment he stepped into the water, Sakura's 2 feet directly stood on the surface of the water. With a thought, he took out a luminous pearl that he obtained in the past from his storage ring. The moment he took out the luminous pearl, the area within a 1-mile radius was instantly illuminated as if it was daytime. As for the flowers and trees in the Butterfly Valley, they naturally returned to the same color at this moment. "Wow," a surprised voice came from the front. "Fellow Taoist, do you still have this thing?" What do you mean?" Sakura didn't understand. At this moment, he completely didn't expect Tian-Ning to ask for the luminous pearl. Can you give me the thing in your hand? That thing is so beautiful?" Finally, Tian-Ning opened her mouth. The moment she finished speaking, Sakura was stunned. Damn, so she took a fancy to the luminous pearl. As he thought about it, he felt that something was wrong. The luminous pearl wasn't a rare material, nor was it something really expensive. Logically speaking, as long as one was a cultivator, they should have this thing. Although he thought so in his heart, in the end, Sakura still took out a luminous pearl and tossed it to Tian-Ning. "Here, take it." Thank you." After receiving the luminous pearl, Tian-Ning began to play like a child. She already treated Sakura, who was at the side, as if he was nothing. Could it be that she really hasn't seen a luminous pearl before? Seeing Tian Ning's behavior, he muttered to himself in disbelief. Fellow Taoist? Fellow Taoist. Seeing that Tian Ning seemed to have forgotten about eating, Sakura felt a little embarrassed to disturb her and called out softly. Fellow Taoist. Let's leave this place first. Tian Ning was speechless. She didn't respond and didn't open her mouth. Her eyes were still fixed on the luminous pearl. At this moment Lin Rei really believed that she was mesmerized by the luminous pearl. Sigh. Seeing that he couldn't wake Tian Ning up, Sakura decided to give up. However, just as he gave up, a voice sounded behind him. Kid, don't be offended. Tian Ning is like this. As long as she sees something new, she will be like this. For so many years, she has been in seclusion and has never seen these things, so Sakura was naturally very familiar with this voice. If it wasn't Whitey, who else could it be? Hearing this, Sakura turned around and saw a heavenly pivot rabbit with a tuft of red fur standing on top of a rock. Is that so? Of course. Heh. Of course, Sakura didn't believe Whitey's words. However, he still had to act on the surface. Little rabbit, what do you think? What should I do now? Where should I stay? Don't tell me you want me to use the sky as my blanket and the ground as my bed? Yes, that's a good idea. Besides, judging from Tian Ning's appearance, it will take her a long time to come back to her senses. So, I will have to trouble you to put up with it. Whitey chuckled. Looking at Whitey's shameless look, Sakura wanted to cry but had no tears. At this moment, he really wanted to give himself a few tight slaps. That's what you get for your cheap mouth. Look at what happened now. I don't even have a place to stay. Of course, it was useless to complain. In the end, he sat on the ground and casually conjured a ball of fire. Then, he took out the meat of a demonic beast that he had hunted and roasted it. However, he didn't stay idle at this moment. He took out the jade slip that Lin Rei had given him before he left and told Lin Rei what he had discovered. Then, he circulated his spirit energy and activated the jade slip. Suddenly, the jade slip turned into a ray of light and instantly flew out of the barrier of the Butterfly Valley and towards the Talisman Grandmaster's direction. Of course, Whitey and Tian Ning didn't know what Sakura had done. Otherwise, how could Sakura have sent them a message? In the Talisman Grandmaster's residence, the residence of the elite disciples, Lin Rei's residence. At this moment, Lin Rei had been in seclusion for more than 100 days. However, after such a long time, there were still no signs of Lin Rei coming out of seclusion. Originally, it was just a breakthrough. However, at this moment, outside the door, Ying and Bing had been guarding the door of Lin Rei's seclusion. The moment Lin Rei entered the breakthrough, the two of them came to protect Lin Rei. Seeing that there was no movement in the room for a long time, Ying was a little worried. Bing, why do you think our husband is coming out? TSK. Is this the problem? Hearing Ying's question, Bing's face fell. After pondering for a long time, he said, I don't know. Looking at Bing, Ying rolled her eyes. I don't know if our husband is going to break through to the harmony realm this time. I feel that our husband's power is getting stronger and stronger. However, our power is, then, he lowered his head and clenched his fist. He activated his cultivation and felt a sense of loss and helplessness when he felt that his cultivation hadn't improved for a long time. Sigh. That's right. There's nothing we can do about his cultivation. It's the same for the others. There's nothing we can do. We can only take one step at a time. I hope we can continue to follow our husband's footstep. I hope so. Yes. Let's be disappointed. I hope our husband won't leave us too far behind. Chapter 900. These two girls, what's there to think about? Ying and Bing didn't know that their conversation was heard very clearly by Lin Rei, who was in the room. Hey, don't worry. As long as I'm here, you won't fall behind. Instead, your cultivation will get higher and stronger. You'll even surpass me every time. Of course, Ing and Bing didn't know Lin Rei's words, let alone their secrets. Although they had doubts about the speed of their cultivation, they would never know. Maybe Lin Rei was in a good mood that day, or maybe he would give them back their freedom when they reached the peak of their cultivation. Come on, let me make the final push. This time, I don't believe I can't break through you. He closed his eyes to rest and returned to his cultivation. After a long time of breakthroughs, Lin Rei had been in a state of failure and fumbling. But now, Lin Rei had absolute confidence. Wasn't there such a saying? Succeed or die. At this moment, Lin Rei suddenly came with such an attitude, because he felt the urgency of time. He didn't have time to be slow. Boom, a terrifying spiritual force instantly rushed out of his body and enveloped his entire body. Inside his body, the spiritual force had already turned into a torrent that flowed through the meridians of his entire body. Its speed was extremely fast, almost surpassing the speed of his usual cultivation method. Whoosh! In the outside world, Ing and Bing fell into silence, quietly protecting his hair. But when they closed their eyes to rest, the sound of something breaking through the air came in an instant. Hearing the sound, Ing, who had closed her eyes, suddenly opened her eyes. She looked up in the direction of the sound and frowned. A message jade slip? When she saw the thing breaking through the air, Ing was stunned, and her face was full of anxiety. She knew about the message jade slip, which was used to send messages to find two great ways. However, at this moment, the message jade slip appeared at this time, which meant that there was news about the two great ways. Thinking about it, Ing raised her eyebrows, then reached out and a suction force appeared. Aiming at the jade slip, she sucked fiercely. Suddenly, the jade slip, which was flying according to its original trajectory, was pulled away from its original trajectory under the strong suction force. Keep. In an instant, the communication jade slip appeared in his hand. An image automatically rushed out of the jade slip and appeared in front of Ing and Bing. Main body, I am Sakura's avatar. I am currently in the Butterfly Valley. Here, I discovered that there are two people. One human and one beast. They have killing aura in their bodies, and the purity of their aura far surpasses yours. But, it's just that I'm still not sure if the two of them are the great Tao of slaughter that I'm looking for, so, if I have the time I can come and look for him. However, there are far more sages here than in the battle between the major sections. What? You found it just like that? Hearing Sakura's words, Bing and Ying's faces were filled with excitement. Not yet, it's just that I'm not sure, so, let's wait for our husband to come out before we tell him. After all, this is the most crucial time for my husband. If we miss this opportunity, who knows when the next time will be? Hearing this, Bing nodded in agreement. That makes sense. In that case, let's wait for our husband to come out. However, while the two of them were talking, the energy carrier that Sakura stored in the jade slip had been exhausted. In the end, it completely collapsed and disappeared. In this regard, Lin Rei didn't know. At this moment, as Ing said, Lin Rei had entered a very crucial time. Whether he could break through or not depended on this moment. Break through, I must break through. In the room, Lin Rei sat cross-legged. His face was slightly pale, and his forehead was covered with sweat. He was praying nervously in his heart. Damn you brat! At this moment, an anxious voice sounded. Little Dragon walked out of the system and stood in front of Lin Rei. Seeing Lin Rei like this, his face turned ugly. Can't you let me worry less? It's like this every time. Didn't I tell you before that you have to take the red dragon flame before eating the breakthrough pill? Really? After saying that, a pure soul force was separated from his body by Little Dragon. His palm was aimed at Lin Rei, and the pure soul was transferred to him. Boom. What's going on? This pure soul force. Could it be Little Dragon? At this critical moment, after feeling the pure soul force, Lin Rei immediately thought that it was the little dragon. Because it was beside him and could easily transfer soul force to him, apart from the little dragon, Lin Rei couldn't think of anyone else. Heh, it seems like I owe you again this time, really. His heart didn't waver. It wasn't because he wasn't grateful, but because if there was a mistake at this moment, then the soul force that the little dragon transferred would be wasted. Devouring heaven art, devour for me. Suddenly, the devouring heaven art was activated. Under the effect of Lin Rei's devouring heaven art, the soul force that was transferred to his body began to madly absorb. Refine for me. At this moment, the devouring heaven art was like a converter. While devouring the little dragon's soul force, it also used the devouring heaven art to convert it into pure energy to replenish Lin Rei's energy deficit. Hiss, huff, pure energy poured into his veins. It was like a river that had been dried up for many years was now moistened by water. Come on, if I can't break through this time, then I would have let down the little dragon. Suddenly, he increased his strength and rushed towards the Sky Wind Palace in his mind. As long as he could break through the Sky Wind Palace, then he would be able to break through to the Saint Realm. This was Lin Rei's goal. Boom, gotcha, this time, although the first impact didn't have much effect, but it left a crack on the sturdy barrier. As such, Lin Rei, who heard it, clearly revealed a smile on his face. Come on, attack for me. Looking at the almost invisible crack on the barrier, he gathered all his energy and rushed towards the crack again. Boom, gotcha, another crack appeared. Although it wasn't big, it was only 2 attempts. Although the result wasn't great, but what if it was 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times? Even if 1,000 times didn't work, there were still tens of thousands of times. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. Even so, after accumulating for a long time, it would eventually become a torrent. Boom, boom, again and again, Lin Rei began to madly attack the barrier. He didn't stop at all. However, every time he attacked, his head would feel a little pain. After such a long time of attacking, Lin Rei's mind had reached its limit. And the energy that supported his breakthrough had also reached its limit. If he couldn't break through this time, then it would be even more difficult to break through in the future. Slowly, the crack would crack a little with each attack from Lin Rei. However, seeing the crack gradually getting bigger, he was somewhat powerless now. No, I must succeed in breaking through. Thinking about this, the stubbornness in his bones instantly washed over Lin Rei's entire body. At this moment, the pain in his body was nothing. As long as he could break through, the pain in his body could be recovered. However, if he missed this opportunity, then he would really miss it. Break for me. Forcefully mobilizing his energy, he rushed towards the Sky Wind Palace in his mind with a soul-tearing pain. Although he was an arrow at the end of its flight, the energy that was mobilized still had the momentum of a fierce tiger coming down the mountain. Whether I succeed or not, it all depends on this. Urging his energy, he prayed in his heart. Boom, a rumbling sound rang out. However, accompanying the rumbling sound was an unbearable pain that spread throughout his entire body. Crack, crack. Suddenly, there was a cracking sound. Hearing this familiar sound, Lin Rei didn't have time to pay attention to the pain in his body. He used his inner vision to look at the Sky Wind Palace in his mind. I broke through. I finally broke through. Plop. Perhaps it was because of excessive fatigue, coupled with the excitement just now, it caused his vision to turn black. Lin Rei's straight body fell backward. Sigh. I really don't know what to do with you. The little dragon was very clear about Lin Rei's actions. However, the little dragon didn't agree with Lin Rei's actions. However, what could he do? He was very clear about Lin Rei's temper, so he didn't appear to stop him. Looking at the unconscious Lin Rei, the little dragon's eyes were filled with concern and love. You brat, I really don't know what kind of wicked things I did in my previous life. Did I dig up someone's ancestral grave or steal someone's child for me to meet you in this life? As he complained, he raised his hand and a force rushed out, dragging Lin Ray's body up and placing him on the bed. Only then did he feel relief. Looking at Lin Ray's pale face, the little dragon muttered to himself, "Looks like I'll have to keep an eye on you in the future. In the blink of an eye, you've already caused me trouble. Seriously." After saying that, he rolled his eyes at Lin Ray and entered the system in a flash. He didn't say anything else. However, Lin Ray was currently unconscious. His entire body was in extreme pain, as if his flesh was being sliced and his bones were being scraped. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Lin Ray had been lying in bed for 3 days. He did nothing and was unconscious. The Chaos Heavenly Scripture automatically circulated and healed Lin Ray's injuries. Phew, on the bed, Lin Ray, who was lying quietly, finally moved. His eyelids twitched a few times, and he let out a long breath. When he woke up, he felt where he was and frowned. Then, he suddenly opened his eyes and looked around. When he realized that the room was still his own room, Lin Ray felt much more relieved. How did I, little dragon? Just as he was thinking about how he was on the bed, the figure of the little dragon appeared in his mind. With a thought, his figure appeared in the system. He closed his eyes and his divine sense instantly rushed out to investigate where the little dragon was. Found it. Looking at where the little dragon was, Lin Ray smiled and instantly moved. He was still in the system main hall a moment ago, and the next moment, he was in front of the little dragon. "You're awake." When Lin Ray arrived, the little dragon didn't make any movements. It didn't even raise its head. Its tone was even more indifferent. Yes, I'm awake." Seeing the little dragon like this, Lin Ray was especially careful with his words. Based on his understanding of the little dragon after such a long time, he couldn't act recklessly at this time. Because, at this time, it meant that the little dragon was angry. Sure enough, just as he was thinking, the next moment, the little dragon's reproachful voice came. However, the words of reproach didn't change at all from before. It could be said that there was nothing new about it. "Look at you. You're always like this. Can you not always make me worry? What did I do to have to meet a debt collector like you in my life? I haven't even told you about the Realm Breaker pill. Who told you to eat it? Do you know that after eating the Realm Breaker pill, you have to break through? Otherwise, it will cause irreparable damage to your spiritual power and divine sense. You have to know that you still have a lot of tasks to complete. If something happens to you, what do you want me? No, what do you want your wife and parents to do? What do you want your siblings to do? What do you want the entire Xuanzong sect to do? Can't you just let me be at ease?" Really, just like that, the reproachful voice didn't stop. It went on for a few hours. As for Lin Ray, at this moment, he was like a child who had done something wrong. He stood there motionlessly and didn't show any emotion. Instead, he humbly listened to the lecture. Sigh. "I've said so much to you. Next time, you'll be like this again. Forget it, I won't say any more." Hee. Seeing that the little dragon had stopped reproaching him, Lin Ray laughed. With a shameless look, he looked at the little dragon and said, "I was wrong. I was really wrong. This time was purely an accident. Next time, no, there won't be a next time." Seeing how shameless Lin Ray was, the little dragon slapped his forehead speechlessly. He didn't want to be entangled in this topic any longer. Then he said, "Now that you've broken through to the Array Realm, what's the next step? Set up the Array Realm? Or?" Hearing the little dragon's words, Lin Ray's expression instantly became serious. "Set up the Array Realm. After all, the system said that I can't use my cultivation and combat technique. So, I can only use arrays and talisman Dao to fight. Okay." Suddenly thinking of something, he asked the system. Oh right, do you know of any arrays that can trap or make a saint lose their cultivation? What are you thinking about? Hearing Lin Rei's question, the little dragon directly rolled its eyes. What is a saint? A saint is an existence that is infinitely close to the Tao. And making a saint lose their cultivation? You really dare to think about it. Hearing the little dragon's words, Lin Rei's heart sank. However, just as Lin Rei was about to give up, the little dragon's voice sounded again. But what? But I do know how to trap a saint, but I have to go to the shop to exchange for it. After all, if I were to teach it privately, I would receive the system's punishment. Think about it, think about the time when you received the system's punishment. Thinking about it, the system's body couldn't help but tremble. Okay. The system's punishment is quite scary. Moreover, the thunder calamity is the natural nemesis of souls. Although Lin Rei really wanted the array realm and didn't want to spend money, if he had to sacrifice the little dragon as the price, then Lin Rei would never do it. Hey, you brat! Seeing Lin Rei's silence, the little dragon chuckled and adjusted the atmosphere. Since you're awake, hurry up and get lost. Your two little girls are very worried. Chapter 901. Got it. Lin Rei looked at the little dragon and smiled playfully. Then, with a thought, he disappeared and returned to his original body. Phew, when he returned to his original body, a wave of pain spread throughout his body like an electric current. For a moment, Lin Rei couldn't get used to his current body. It seems that living a comfortable life for too long isn't necessarily a good thing. Feeling the pain in his body, Lin Rei got up from the bed and walked toward the door with a stern look on his face. With a twig sound, the door opened from the inside, and Linley's figure appeared at the door. Husband! Two surprised voices sounded from afar. Ing and Bing, who were worried, turned around when they heard the door open. When they saw the figure that appeared, their worried hearts were instantly relieved. Looking at his two wives, an inexplicable smile flashed across his face. Then, in a flash, he came between the two of them and hugged them in his arms. Lin Rei's heart ached when he saw the two of them, who were slightly skinny. It's been hard on you. When I go into seclusion in the future, you don't have to stay here and guard me. I have set up a defensive formation around the periphery of this room. Even a sage would need some time to enter it. So, promise me that you won't do this in the future, okay? Husband Ing and Bing felt sweet when they heard their husband's words. They knew that their husband was concerned about them. It's okay. Our cultivation won't improve anyway. Instead of that, we might as well stay here and guard you. At this moment, Bing spoke. That's right. Anyway, there's nothing to do. We will feel more at ease if we stay here and guard you. Ing smiled and continued, besides in the Talisman Sect, other than that sage, no one is a match for us. So don't worry. Seeing how stubborn the two of them were, Lin Rei sighed and didn't say anything in the end. He knew that no matter what he said, it would be useless. Based on his understanding of his two wives, as long as the two of them decided on something, even if it was him, it was impossible to change it. Moreover, they were right. In the entire Talisman Sect, only the Saint Stage experts could threaten them. As for the others, Moreover, a saint could only pose a threat to Kage and Shadow at most. Only a peak Dao fruit expert could kill them. Otherwise, forget it, I'll leave it to you. Thus, Zhang Xian led the two of them into the residence. Arriving at the main seat, Lin Rei looked at the two of them and asked, Did anything happen while I was away? Yes. Husband, Sakura sent back a message a few days ago. Ing hurriedly told the news that Sakura had sent over. A few days ago, Sakura was in a place called Butterfly Valley and found two people, one human and one beast. These two people had extremely pure slaughter chi in their bodies, and as he spoke, Shadow stole a glance at Linley and continued, "Moreover, Sakura said that the slaughter chi of those two people is much purer than your slaughter chi, and it's also very large." There's such a thing? Lin Rei was stunned when he heard the message from Ying's doppelganger. He did have killing intent. However, it was accumulated from killing for so many years. However, the two people his doppelganger found also had killing intent in their bodies. Moreover, it was pure. There were only two possibilities. First, they had killed for a long time and then cultivated a cultivation technique that accumulated killing intent. Second, the two people his doppelganger found did indeed have the killing intent he was looking for. However, he didn't know why the killing intent took form. Yes. However, Sakura isn't sure whether it's true or not. Therefore, he will keep following the two people until you go to check it out yourself. Alright, got it. Linley nodded in response. But of course, for him to go right now was naturally impossible. He had just made a breakthrough in the array formation realm and was about to complete the task. It was impossible for him to leave now. This was a matter of life and death. If he lost his life, what was the point of obtaining those two great daos? Anything else? After understanding this matter, he raised his head and continued to ask. No, that's all. Ying said, my disciples are all cultivating quietly. Moreover, Chief from Talisman Grandmaster is very honest. They don't know about your existence, so, well, that's good. Lin Rei was relieved when he heard that there was nothing else. However, Lin Rei was filled with guilt when he thought that he had to go into seclusion again before he could say anything. He looked at his two wives and said with guilt, I'm sorry. Ah? What? The sudden apology made the two girls confused. They were completely in a state of confusion about this apology. I'm sorry. I should have spent some time with you after I came out of seclusion. However, I still have something to deal with, so, he might have to go into seclusion again soon and won't have time to accompany you. I'm really sorry. It's okay. At this moment, the two of them finally knew what Lin Rei meant when he said sorry. It's okay, husband. You're someone who can do great things. Just do what you need to do. We don't mind. As long as we can stay by your side, that's enough. Yes, husband, just do what you need to do. We'll always be by your side. Although the two of them said so, the disappointment in their eyes was very obvious. Lin Rei could see it clearly. Alas! Hearing his two wives' words, Lin Rei felt even more guilty. Don't worry. After this matter is over, I will definitely spend more time with you. When the time comes, don't think that I'm annoying. Hearing Lin Rei's promise, Ying and Bing smiled and nodded repeatedly. Yes. We can't wait for our husband to accompany us. How can we be annoyed? Seeing the two of them being so considerate, Lin Rei was amused. He waved his hand and the door suddenly closed. You two can stay in the room. I'm going to start my seclusion. I hope it will be faster this time. Then can we stay here? The reason why he went into seclusion was that he was afraid of being disturbed. Now that he asked the two of them to stay here, Ying and Bing hesitated for a moment. It's okay. Trust your husband. I can still do this. Seeing their husbands like this, the two of them finally did not refute. Instead, they nodded obediently and said, Okay. Then, husband, you can go into seclusion. We'll wait for you. After saying that, Ying and Bing went to the bed and sat down cross-legged to meditate. Sensing the state of his two wives, Linley chuckled. His face grew solemn, and with a thought, he entered the system. As usual, he called out to the system. System, show me the interface of the store. Ding, received. Activating the store. Please wait a moment. The system's voice was still cold and emotionless. It was as stiff as a synthetic electronic voice. Ding, the store is activated. Please check it. After the system said that, the interface of the store appeared in front of Lin Rei. There was a dazzling array of high-quality goods. Lin Ray was dumbfounded by the sight, because at this moment, he could afford any of the goods in front of him. Moreover, Lin Ray estimated that even if he bought himself, he would not be able to afford any of the good. In other words, even if he bought himself, he would not be able to afford 50% of the price of the good. Alas, poor people are so terrible. Unconsciously, this sentence jumped out of his mouth. Forget it. Let's find the array formation first. Thinking about that, Lin Ray looked at the sky and said, "System, help me find a peak master sage cultivator that I can control. The array formation needs to be at the level of the saint grade." Ding. Okay. Please wait a moment. The system will screen for you. After receiving Lin Ray's order, the goods on the front page of the store started to blur. I hope I can get something cheaper this time. After all, it's just an array formation. There's no need to choose something so expensive. Moreover, I might only be able to use it once. So, it's better to choose the worst one. A trace of saliva flowed out of the corner of his mouth. He looked like a pig. Time slowly passed. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. Many goods appeared in the store. However, although the goods appeared, the system's voice did not appear. Ding, adjustment complete. Please check it. The system's voice sounded. Lin Ray nodded and looked at the store. However, when he saw the prices of the goods, Lin Ray's face darkened. What the hell? What is this? Am I seeing things? Or am I dreaming? Looking at the shocking prices, Lin Ray really wanted to take a knife and slit his own throat. Flowing Cloud Array Formation, Level 1 Saint Grade, 45 million. Blazing Prairie Array Formation, Level 1 Saint Grade, 48 million. Looking at the prices that were enough to crush him to death, Lin Ray couldn't stand it anymore. Just a moment ago, he said that he would buy something that was not bad, cheap, and cost-effective. But now, oh, what cost-effective? Everything he thought of before no longer mattered. Ding, is there anything the host is dissatisfied with or needs the system's service? Just as Lin Ray was thinking about his strange life, the system's voice sounded again. Of course, Lin Ray was very determined. Looking at the sky, he said, "System, you know my current situation. It's not that I don't have money. On the contrary, I still owe the system so much. Now, the prices of these goods that you found for me are really a little too high. With my current situation, do you think I have the ability to pay so much money? Or do you think I have the ability?" Lin Ray spoke without stopping. The more he spoke, the more aggrieved he felt. After all, he was now burdened with debt. Ding. Host, I don't have what you want. At this moment, the system said without hesitation, something that is cost-effective, cheap, practical, and powerful. Most importantly, you want something that is at the price of a divine grade level 1. Do you think such a thing exists in this world? Host, you should know that the things in the system are sold to the host at a 50% discount from the outside world. The system is already suffering a huge loss. Ugh, hearing the system's words, Linley was stunned. He wanted to say more, but the words he had just said were all blocked by the system. Linley was speechless. Okay. In the end, Lin Ray could only admit defeat. But he had to buy it. Sigh, if I owe money, so be it. It's not like I haven't owed money before. Thinking of the consequences of not being able to complete the mission, Lin Ray thought it through. As the saying goes, it's better to live than to die. As long as I'm alive, money is nothing. I can earn more money if I lose it, but if I lose my life, I'll really lose it. As he thought about it, Linley's expression turned resolute. He said, "System, recommend me a formation that can trap a peak Dao fruit cultivator. It would be best if it could suppress their cultivation. Of course. Although I've thought it through, I still have to make it cheap. Do you understand?" Ding. Okay. Please wait a moment, host. The moment the system finished speaking, the items in the shop started flashing. They were extremely fast. I hope I can find what I need. After spending so much money, please don't let me down. At this moment, Lin Ray prayed silently in his heart. Looking at the flashing items on the screen, Lin Ray was stunned. He then closed his eyes nervously, not daring to look. After some time, Lin Ray, who had been waiting for a long time, finally heard the sound of a notification from the system. Ding! Seal. A formation similar to a cultivation technique. It can be upgraded. It can be met with conditions. It will be upgraded according to the host's cultivation base and the level of the formation. Seal. There are a total of 7 seals for cultivation base. Each seal is different. However, the host can only buy 1 seal. Because the host's cultivation base is not high enough and the level of the formation is not high enough. So, does the host want to buy it? Seal. Is this the same as what I asked for? Hearing the system's introduction, Lin Ray's interest was piqued. After all, this was the first time he had seen a formation that could raise one's cultivation base. But what worried Lin Ray was whether this was the same as what he wanted. If it wasn't, then, ding, it's the same. The power of the seal is to trap and seal the host. As long as a cultivator is trapped by the seal, his entire cultivation base will be suppressed. He will be trapped and have nowhere to go. Is that so? Hearing the system's words, Lin Ray couldn't help but confirm. Of course, I have to trust the system. Okay. I'll take it. Receiving the system's confirmation, Lin Ray nodded in confirmation. Ding. Okay, host, please wait a moment. Purchase in progress, ding. Host has successfully purchased the first level of the seal. It has been stored in the storage box. Please check it later. Ding. Due to purchase of seal, 50 million exchange points deducted. Chapter 902. 50 million exchange points. Are you sure? Lin Ray was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the first layer of the seal formula would cost 50 million exchange points. This was beyond his imagination. Previously, he thought that since it was the positive step seal formula, 50 million would be very cost-effective and Lin Ray could accept it. But what about now? 50 million, a huge sum of 50 million. 50 million was only enough to buy the first layer of the seal formula. This made his little heart a little unable to accept it. It seemed like it was going to stop beating soon. Ding, discovered the seal formula. Host, do you want to learn it? Yes. Lin Ray was almost gnashing his teeth in response to the system's nonsense at this moment. His tone was very heavy. Not for other reasons, but because the seal formula was too expensive, and the system had indirectly cheated him. As a person who was often cheated, this was a very shameful thing. In my life, I have indeed been cheated by the system once. Just. Thinking of how many times he had been cheated, Lin Ray made up his mind. He would never be cheated by the system again. If I am cheated by the system again in my life, I will never drink again. If I violate this oath, I will be hated by both man and God. Inexplicably, after saying this, Lin Ray felt a sense of guilt in his heart. It was as if he knew that he couldn't stop the fact that he had been cheated by the system. Ding, congratulations to the host for learning the first layer of the seal formula. Can seal the peak of the Dao fruit realm. Well, this makes me feel better. Hearing that it could seal the peak of the Dao fruit realm, Lin Ray felt a little better. After all, his purpose of coming here this time was to find the cultivation method to complete the mission. Ding, the first layer of the seal formula requires 10 years to activate and 10 years to freeze. If you want to use it again, you can only use it again after 20 years. What was hatred? At this moment, Lin Ray had a feeling of wanting to kill someone but being powerless. It was as if someone was telling you, I like it when you look at me, but you can't do anything to me. Lin Rei's mind exploded when he heard the system mention the duration of the sealing spell. What did it mean by having to wait 20 years for the second use? What, are you kidding me? Originally, he thought that with the seal formula, he would have a way to save his life. But now this was AF * king trick. This was obviously AF * king chicken rib, okay? Even if the seal formula was strong, but so what? He couldn't possibly wait for 10 years every time. This time, Lin Rei felt that he had been cheated badly by the system. Originally, he could have bought a decent one for 50 million, but now it was better. Thinking about it, Lin Rei felt aggrieved. He had never thought that things would turn out like this. Alas! Forget it. Since it has come to this, there's no point in saying more. Blaming the heavens and blaming the earth is ultimately wishing that my cultivation is not good enough. Otherwise, thinking about it, Lin Rei suddenly felt very powerless. Although Lin Rei usually looked very strong, in fact, in some matters, Lin Rei was also very helpless and powerless. Like now, after being cheated by the system so many times, he still took the initiative to take the initiative. It couldn't be helped. Who asked the system to be so awesome? Who asked him not to have the ability to do so? Alas! Poor Lin Rei. At this time, in another space of the system, the little dragon clearly saw what happened to Lin Rei. However, he didn't go forward to stop it. After all, this was the system's decision. He couldn't interfere. Just like what he said before, if he interfered, he would only be courting death. Forget it. He didn't want to talk, let alone think about other things. 10 years. In these 10 years, Lin Rei could only wait for the sealing spell to end. And in 10 years, what could he do? He didn't think that in the past, other than cultivation, there was nothing else in his life but cultivation. I've got it. As if he thought of something interesting, Lin Rei slightly raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a smile that made people's hearts tremble. If the crowd saw Lin Rei's smile, then, in their hearts, they must know that someone was going to be unlucky. Little brats, I have no choice. I originally wanted to let you go, but who asked the system to give me 10 years for nothing? As he said that, he looked up at the sky. Since there's nothing to do in 10 years, then let me accompany you for 10 years. Who knows, maybe it can help you break through to Supreme God in the next 10 years. If Ruo Lin, Wan Yu and the others were here, after hearing Lin Rei's words and seeing his current expression, the 5 of them would probably say no at the same time. Because they were afraid that Lin Rei's training would be too tiring and too painful. System, after 10 years, after the sealing spell has finished freezing, let me know. If there's anything during this period, inform me at any time. Of course, only those important things. As for those trivial things, there's no need to mention them. Ding, okay. Host, don't worry. Since that's the case, I'll go out first. After saying that, Lin Rei didn't want to stay any longer. He was afraid that if he stayed any longer, he wouldn't be able to resist cursing the system for being unscrupulous. Of course, that kind of punishment was necessary, so he chose to leave. After exiting the system space and returning to his original body, Lin Rei opened his eyes, opened his mouth and let out a long breath of turbid air. His face slightly smiled and his body relaxed. Chuckling lightly, he stood up and walked towards his 2 wives in the corner. His speed wasn't very fast, he walked slowly. His eyes were filled with tenderness and guilt. Although I can't complete the mission quickly, but at least I can spend some time with my family during this period of time. This is actually not bad. At this moment, Ying, who was in the middle of cultivation, seemed to feel that something was approaching. She abruptly opened her eyes, turned around, and rushed towards the person approaching her. Her speed was so fast that she didn't seem to have any intention of stopping. Damn, are you trying to murder your own husband? Ying came to suddenly. At this moment, Lin Rei had almost completely relaxed his body. Thus, when he felt such a powerful attack from Ing, Lin Ray subconsciously rushed to the side. But a crisp sound was heard. Lin Ray's entire body was sent flying. Perhaps the room limited the distance that Lin Ray was sent flying, so before he could fly further, he was stopped by the wall. At this moment, Lin Ray's heart was filled with unspeakable grievances. He originally wanted to relax completely and spend time with his wife, but now, my husband, why are you here? At this moment, hearing the familiar voice of the person who was sent flying, Ing came back to her senses. Then, she was surprised, but then, the surprise disappeared, and the guilt was revealed on the surface. Looking at her husband who was sent flying, Ing hated herself to the core. My husband, are you okay? Ing came back to her senses and quickly went forward to help Lin Ray up. Cough, cough, cough. I'm fine. Looking at his wife, Lin Ray didn't know what to say. But he didn't say that this guy was fine. Although his entire body was relaxed, his physical strength was still there. I'm sorry just now, okay. Knowing that Ing was feeling guilty, Lin Ray didn't want to be entangled in this matter. He quickly changed the topic so that she wouldn't feel guilty about this matter. This matter ends here. Wake Bing up. During this time, accompany your husband to visit Xiaoyu and the others. Hearing this, Ing looked at Lin Ray doubtfully. Her eyes were filled with doubts. My husband, you're not in seclusion anymore? I'm not in seclusion anymore. I won't eat for the next 10 years. Looking at his wife, Lin Ray stretched out his hand and stroked Ying's silky hair. His tone was very gentle. I'll spend this time with you guys. After all, then, as if he thought of something, guilt instantly swept over him. After all, it's my fault for neglecting you guys in the past. So, I'll use this time to make it up to you guys. Really? My husband, is what you said true? At this moment, hearing Lin Ray's words, Ing couldn't help but jump up excitedly like a happy child. Yes, it's true. Looking at his wife's reaction, Lin Ray felt even more guilty. But when he thought that he could make it up to her immediately, the guilt slowly faded away. Yes, I'll go wake Sister Bing up now. After saying that, Lin Ray went to Bing's side. With a thought, Lin Ray's words were transmitted to Bing's mind. In the next moment, Bing, who was cultivating, suddenly opened her eyes. She withdrew her cultivation and stopped the circulation of the cultivation technique. She stood up and looked at Lin Ray. Then, Ing and Bing exchanged glances. Whoosh, two figures flashed past quickly. Then, one of them hugged Lin Ray's arms like a young man and woman. However, both of them were filled with happiness and brimming with smiles. Ha, silly girls. Let's go. I'm not silly, right, Sister Bing? Bing pouted and retorted. Apparently, she was a little dissatisfied with Lin Ray's words. Yes, we're not silly, Lin Ray. Looking at the two of them, Lin Ray chuckled and didn't say anything. He strode out and walked towards the place where Lin Wanyu and the others were training. Butterfly Valley. Butterfly Valley was located at the shore of the lake. It was easy to cross over. Sakura was here chatting happily with Little White and Tian Ning. They had already established a foundation for their relationship. Although it wasn't to the point where they didn't hide anything from each other, they could be considered friends. During this period of time, Sakura felt that Tian Ning was very lonely. Furthermore, she was very chunibu. She was very kind, so kind that she didn't have any friends. As long as there were small animals in her hands, she would save them. But, however, Tian Ning didn't seem to know that his spirit chi was innately filled with murderous aura. Although the small animals that she saved were all cured, as time passed, the murderous aura would spread to the animals' bodies. The wounds would fester again and even become more serious than before. Furthermore, when the murderous aura spread in the small animals' bodies, it affected their central nervous system, causing the originally docile animals to become irritable and restless. They began to wreak havoc until their lives ended. Sakura didn't say anything about this. He knew that if he said anything, Tian Ning would definitely blame herself. Therefore, he secretly collected all the small animals that Tian Ning had treated and used his cultivation to forcefully erase the murderous aura in their bodies. Finally, he applied medicinal powder on them. Tian Ning didn't know about all this, but Little White was very clear about it. Because in Butterfly Valley, Little White was the sky. Therefore, Sakura's every move wasn't within her sight. It was also because of this that Little White would show her true kindness to Sakura. At this moment, Sakura sat in front of the bonfire and stared blankly at the flames. He stared blankly at the same spot for a long time. Fellow Taoist? Fellow Taoist, are you all right? Tian Ning, who was sitting opposite him, saw Sakura in such a state and softly called out to him. However, it seemed that Sakura was so engrossed that he didn't hear Tian Ning's call at all. He just stared at the bonfire in silence. Kid, I'm talking to you. At this moment, the pretty boy Deshir Tian acted in such a manner and slapped down as he spoke. What did you say? After being forcefully awakened, Sakura knew his action just now. He immediately asked Little White with an apologetic expression. I said, Tian Ning is talking to you? Little White couldn't help but roll her eyes at Sakura and didn't say anything else. Hearing Little White's words, Sakura turned his head to look at Tian Ning and asked, Fellow Taoist Tian Ning, I don't know what you said just now. I was still in a daze, so… I'm sorry. It's nothing. I just saw you staring at the bonfire without blinking, so I was curious about what you were thinking about. I see. A smile appeared on his face. Just now I was just thinking about some things that I encountered when I was traveling outside. Outside. Hearing Sakura's words, Tian Ning revealed a yearning expression. Sakura smiled inwardly. After talking with the heavenly demon these few days, he understood that Tian Ning had never left the divine realm. So, he yearned for the outside world very much. It was just that he couldn't resist Little White's discipline. Now, hearing that Sakura was traveling outside, Tian Ning's desire to go out was reignited. This brat, of all things to say, he just had to say this. Seeing Tian Ning's yearning expression, Little White knew that Shia was moved. It couldn't be helped. After all, this place was a ravine. It couldn't be compared to the outside world. In the outside world, there were all kinds of food. However, in this place, other than roasted meat, there might not be anything else. Can you tell me what's outside? Suddenly, Tian Ning raised her head to look at Sakura. Her eyes were filled with longing. No problem. Sakura didn't refuse Tian Ning's request. After all, he was still able to do such a small thing. Thank you so much. Seeing that Sakura agreed, Tian Ning was overjoyed. The outside world is very exciting. There are all kinds of food as well as… At this moment, Sakura began to talk non-stop. Most of them were places that were fun to play with. As for the fighting and killing, they were mysteriously hidden away when they were near the mouth of the two dais. Chapter 903. Time passed quickly. Unknowingly, he talked from day to night and from night to dawn. Along the way, Deshir Tian seemed to be recalling his life and didn't stop. As for Tian Ning, she didn't seem to be impatient at all. Instead, she listened with great interest. It was as though she had experienced it herself. Especially when she heard about those fun places with beautiful scenery, Tian Ning's eyes were filled with envy and longing. However, when Deshir Tian was narrating, the expression in Tian Ning's eyes slowly changed. Originally, it was still envy and longing. However, slowly, during Deshir Tian's narration, the envy and longing gradually changed. A trace of determination appeared in Tian Ning's eyes. As time passed, the determination became stronger and stronger. This scene was clearly seen by. She instinctively wanted to go up and stop it. However, when she saw the smile on Tian Ning's face, she became timid. She didn't want to see Tianning's smile disappear. "Amen, it's like this. I came here. Originally, I wanted to go out and gain experience. However, when I came here, I heard that there were cultivators using this place. Moreover, there was no way out. Therefore," as he spoke, Tian scratched his head with an embarrassed expression. At this moment Tian was very simple and honest. If Tian's current expression appeared in the eyes of the people he had killed before, it would probably set off a perilous situation. After all, an assassin was born to kill. They were cold-blooded and killed people like flax. This was basically the standard of an assassin. However, at this moment, when Tianning heard Tian's words, she looked at Little White with embarrassment and explained, Actually, you don't have to be like this. After all, the rumors outside are true. Those cultivators who entered this place didn't have good intentions. Therefore, Little White erased their divine senses and turned them into mindless puppets. However, don't worry. Little White didn't harm their lives. She just wanted them to atone for what they had done before. Is that so? Tian looked at Little White, wanting to confirm it. Of course, half of what he said was true. He did know that there were people using this place. However, more importantly, he wanted to see the strangeness of this butterfly valley. After all, he was born with nothing to do. As for the lives of those missing people, it had nothing to do with him. Even if Xiao Bai killed those people in front of him, Sakura wouldn't have any mercy. The strong preyed on the weak, and the fittest survived, and the fittest were eliminated. This was the law of the world, and the strong were respected. This was the law of time, and no one could change it. As long as your fists are hard enough, as long as you are not afraid of death, as long as you have a ruthless heart, then congratulations, you will have a place in this world where the strong prey on the weak. They asked for it and... At this moment, Little White spoke up, not seeming to care at all. I told you before that they had ill intentions towards Tianning, so, not killing them is already a mercy. That's true. Sakura agreed. However, at this moment, Sakura still had another choice in his heart. If he was Xiao Bai and someone did something bad to his friend, then, the other party wouldn't have a chance to live. Erasing the other party's consciousness and turning them into a puppet? In Sakura's opinion, there was only the difference between a living person and a dead person, and there was no such thing as a puppet. Of course, he wouldn't say that out loud. For some unknown reason, he was extremely unwilling to mention the process of him killing people in front of Tianning, and the thoughts in his heart at this moment. Xiao Bai, suddenly Tianning spoke. Her voice contained a trace of determination, as if she had made an important decision. Speak. I want to go out and see the outside world. This place is too small and too stuffy. I want to go out and see, okay? Sigh. Hearing those words, Little White sighed. In the end, you still want to go out. Hearing Little White's tone, it seemed as if she had already judged Tianning's decision. Yes, I want to go out and see those mountains and rivers, eat and eat. Sakura said it's fine, so don't stop me. Come with me, okay? I beg you. You! Looking at Tianning, Little White felt helpless. I really don't know what to do with you. Think about it, the two of us are one body. If you go out, what reason do I have to stay here? That means you agree? Hearing Little White's decision, Tianning immediately jumped up and looked at her with astonishment. Previously, she had also mentioned that she wanted to go out and see, but every time, she was heartlessly rejected by Little White. She didn't expect that Little White would actually agree this time. Nonsense, if you leave, what's the point of me staying here? Furthermore, as she spoke, she looked at Sakura with vigilance in the depths of her eyes. Although Sakura isn't a threat to you, but he's just a clone. If his original body wants to harm you, with me around, I might be able to protect you. Hearing those words, Tianning calmed down and looked at Little White with gratitude. Thank you. Every time, you're the one who understands me and tolerates me. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid I wouldn't have the chance to escape from those shackles, and wouldn't have the chance to experience the various forms of life. Thank you, little white sister. After being stunned, hearing Tian Ning call her sister, little white immediately quivered and stood rooted to the ground. A smile appeared on her face, but in order to not make the atmosphere strange, little white teased, "Sure, how many eras have I waited for you to call me sister? Hee sure, come, come, come. Say it a few more times. That one isn't enough." Tian Ning. Seeing little white reach out for a yard after taking an inch, Tian Ning's heart of gratitude instantly froze. Her face darkened as she said, "You? Can you not say such hateful words in such emotional situations? Can't you speak properly? Must you be like this every time? You, what's wrong with you too?" Tian Ning's sudden words stunned Sakura. He didn't know what was going on. However, the conversation between Little White and Tian Ning was through voice transmission. After all, that secret was their secret. Apart from them, no one else was qualified to know about it. Of course, there was only one kind of person who knew their secret. It was none other than the dead. However, after Sakura's sudden question, Little White and Tian Ning returned to their senses. Soon after, Tian Ning quickly explained that, "It's like this. Little White and I have decided to go out with you to take a look. To take a look at the outside world. To see the delicious food and the various forms of the mortal world. That's great. When the time comes, I will bring you two to eat the best dishes and go to the best places to have fun." Sakura was inexplicably excited about Tian Ning and Little White leaving the mountain. Yes, yes, yes. It's a promise. In the Talisman Sect, on an open space in the backyard of a courtyard, a tall tower stood tall. The spiritual energy around the tower was 100 times denser than the outside world. It was basically a liquefied spiritual energy. Below the tower, in a pavilion, Lin Rei was seated with his two wives by his side. One was massaging his legs while the other was massaging his shoulders. He was munching on a spirit fruit. On the table in front of him, there were all kinds of dishes and fruit wine. He was living a happy life. Ai, they have been in there for 3 years. Why haven't they come out yet? Did I go overboard with the goal I set for them? At this moment, Lin Rei looked at the cultivation pagoda with a doubtful expression. Previously, he gave a death order to those disciples who had not broken through to the Hierarch realm and Grand Perfection God Emperor realm. Those who did not break through to the Grand Perfection God Emperor realm within 3 seconds must break through within 3 years. If they failed to do so, they would have to bear the consequences. Now, 3 years had passed, but none of the disciples had come out. Looking at the training pagoda, Linley began to suspect that the goals he had set for his disciples were a bit too high, to the point that they didn't even dare to come out. "Aya, husband, you are overthinking." At this moment, seeing her husband's worried expression, Ing said, "Your disciples are all extremely talented. They are all proud and arrogant. They will not cower because you are not worthy of the mission. Furthermore, there are still more than 20 hours before the 3 years deadline. Let's wait a little longer. Who knows, they might all come out in a while." "That's right, husband. Don't you know your disciples? Their aptitude is not inferior to the two of us. So, relax and trust them." This. I like to hear it. Hearing his two wives' words, the conflict in his heart instantly disappeared. Thinking about it carefully, it was true. He was very confident in his disciples' aptitude. After all, he was very serious when he chose them. "All right. Let's wait for a while more." After saying that, Lin Rei closed his eyes and lay comfortably on the chair, quietly enjoying the peaceful time. After all, it was rare to have such a peaceful time. Moreover, he had 2 beautiful wives by his side to serve him. Time passed quietly in Linley's comfortable state. In the blink of an eye, there was still an hour before the 3-year deadline, but Lin Wanyu and the others still hadn't appeared. Linley was still a bit worried about this. After all, he had checked the effect of the cultivation pagoda when it was given to him. There were countless demonic beasts inside, and each of them had a high cultivation. Their aptitudes were also top-notch. In the blink of an eye, 20 minutes had passed. At this moment, Lin Ray was a little restless. He was afraid that his disciples would come out. At the same time, Lin Ray was a little regretful. He regretted the difficulty of the task he gave them. No. Suddenly, Lin Ray stood up and looked at the cultivation pagoda anxiously. I'd better go in and take a look. What if something happened? Husband you so, suddenly, a few sounds pierced through the air and entered the ears of Lin Ray and the others. Instantly, Lin Ray turned his head. The moment he saw the people who appeared, his anxious and worried heart immediately calmed down. His body also returned to its original position the moment he saw those people. As for the anxious expression on his face, it was deeply hidden at this moment. Master, we've completed the task you gave us. In 3 years, we've broken through to the great perfection God-Emperor realm. We're just one step away from the hierarch realm. How is it? Aren't we powerful? At this moment, 5 figures appeared. The eldest disciple, Lin Wanyu, ran to Lin Ray's side and asked for praise. Yes, Master, we haven't been able to sleep well in these 3 years. Every day we live in a state of readiness. There's not a moment when we're relaxed. And then, yes, you still have the nerve to say that? Seeing his disciples standing in front of him safe and sound, Linley's heart was filled with nothing but joy. However, when he thought of how embarrassed he was previously, he couldn't let them know. His face tensed up and he said indifferently, breaking through to the great perfection God-Emperor realm in 3 years is very impressive? Is it very powerful? I can only count as a little bit compared to your master. 3 years, you're really slow. Ah! At this moment, other than Lin Xianyuan, the other 4 were dumbfounded. In the divine world, breaking through to the great perfection God-Emperor realm in 3 years was rare even in the holy world. But now, look at you. At this moment, Ing looked at her husband and smiled. She looked at Lin Wanyu and the others and said dotingly, Don't listen to your master. Yes, that's right. Don't listen to your master. You all have already done a very good job. Furthermore, as he spoke, he stole a glance at Linley before continuing, furthermore, I don't know who was the one who was so worried that he was about to enter the cultivation pagoda to investigate. What? Hearing Bing Ru's words, Lin Wanyu, who was standing in front of Lin Ray, was stunned. She looked at Lin Ray strangely and asked, Master's wife? Is what Master's wife said true? Hearing his disciple's question, Lin Ray smiled bitterly in his heart. He didn't expect his 2 wives to be so shameless as to reveal his secret in front of his disciple. Linley wanted to say no to his eldest disciple's words, but when he saw the pleading look in her eyes, his heart instantly softened. Sigh, you guys. In the end, he couldn't take it anymore. He turned to his eldest disciple and complained, Look at you guys. You didn't come out for so long. You didn't know that there were people outside who were worried about you. Look at you guys. Look at how worried your master's wife is. Do you know how much my heart aches when I see you like this? At this moment everyone knew what was going on. But seeing how stubborn their master was, they didn't know what to say for a moment. Bingru and Lin Wanyu laughed when they saw this scene. They knew that their husband needed to save face, so they quickly tried to smooth things over. Alright, your master is right. We were very worried about you, but, since you've all broken through, I'll go make some delicious food for you. Take it as a gift for your breakthrough. Take it as a reward for all your hard work. Wow, that's great. Master's wife's cooking is the best. Lin Wanyu jumped up in excitement when she heard that. She smiled happily like a child. Chapter 904. That's fine. Have a good chat with your master. We'll go prepare. After saying that, the two glanced at Lin Ray and nodded. Then, they turned around and walked outside. In the field, only Lin Ray and his 5 disciples were left. Looking at his disciples in front of him and thinking about their current cultivation, Lin Ray felt gratified and proud. He was proud of them. To have such strength in the world of cultivation, this was all due to their own efforts. Of course, most of it was because of him, their master. Thinking about this, Lin Ray couldn't help but laugh. After all, when he thought about how his disciples worked so hard, he couldn't help but laugh. Master, why are you laughing? Is there something fun going on? At this time, seeing her master suddenly laughing, Lin Wanyu directly went to Lin Ray's side and sat down. Previously, the two of them were on both sides, so Lin Wanyu couldn't do anything. Now that the two of them were gone, one of Lin Ray's arms naturally belonged to her. She hugged Lin Ray's arm and began to act coquettishly. Master, what are you laughing at? Hurry up and tell me. Whoosh, a figure flashed in front of Lin Ray. Then, his other arm was hugged by someone. Lin Ray turned his head. When he saw Little Four, Lin Ray was helpless. Of course, he was already used to the two of them acting like this. You two, aren't you embarrassed? How old are you? Why are you still acting like children? Although he said this, in his heart, he really enjoyed this kind of warmth. After all, he had watched these disciples grow up, so, how could that be? In front of Master, we are willing to be children. After all, Master is older than us. At this time, Lin Wanyu's mischievous nature came up. While joking with Lin Ray, she didn't forget to raise her eyebrows at Little Four, Lin Yuro. Yes. Yes, Master, sensing the hint from the big senior sister, Lin Yuro nodded and echoed, Master, by your side, we will always be the children who don't have any thoughts. Furthermore, back then, if it weren't for Master, I'm afraid that my brother and I would already be dead. How could we still have our current achievements? A hint of gratitude appeared on her face. This sudden sigh stunned everyone present. After all, aside from number 2, Estranged, and number 5, Cullen, the other 3 were basically all vagabonds who had been rescued by Linley. Yes, if it wasn't for Master, I'm afraid. All right, look at you guys. Seeing that Lin Xianyuan was about to do the same, Lin Ray hurriedly interrupted. Don't think about those things. Since you're following me, you're my children. With me around, you'll have a good life. Furthermore, I promised all of you back then that as long as I'm here, you'll be able to eat and drink well, right? Therefore, the most important thing now is to cherish the present and look forward to the future. You have to know that the potential of each of you is immeasurable. I don't want to be without your company when I stand at the peak of the world. Master, Master, when Lin Ray's words reached their ears, the 5 of them immediately stood to one side. Their resolute hearts became even more resolute, like indestructible boulders. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's talk about your breakthroughs. With that, Lin Ray hurriedly ended the previous topic. Then, he turned to look at his 2 disciples who were hugging him and said, Tell me, what do you want as a reward for breaking through in 3 years? That, although I'll give you a reward, don't go overboard. Master doesn't have much left. With that, he couldn't help but let them choose for themselves. Back then, Lin Ray had dug a hole for himself. He let his disciples choose their gifts, but in the end, Lin Ray took out almost 70% of his wealth. At that time, it could be said that every time Linley took out an item, it was like a knife stabbing into his heart. I knew Master loved us the most. This time, everyone became excited. The happiest thing in their lives was not breaking through, but receiving a reward from their master. As for Lin Ray's words about not having much left, Lin Wanyu and the others seemed to have an automatic barrier, and they didn't hear it at all. It's over. Seeing the sneaky smiles on their faces, Lin Ray's heart thumped, and in the next moment, a bad feeling welled up in his heart. Indeed, in the next moment, he had a bad premonition. Lin Wanyu smiled as she looked at the ring on Linley's hand. She said, "Master, look. I don't lack anything right now. The only thing I lack is an interspatial ring." Also, Lin Wanyu stopped speaking, and her gaze was fixed on Lin Rei's ring. She couldn't take her eyes off it. Also what? Noticing his eldest disciple's gaze, Lin Rei subconsciously used his right hand to cover the hand with the space ring. "Don't hide it!" Seeing Lin Rei's actions, Lin Wanyu reached out and pulled out the hand that Lin Rei had hidden. Then, she looked up at Lin Rei with a pitiful expression, her voice full of grievance. "Master, you promised before. Are you going back on your word now?" Of course you can go back. After all, you are the master, and I am your disciple." She looked like she was about to cry. However, at that moment Lin Rei went completely crazy. His eldest disciple had so many ideas, and after not seeing her for a while, her mouth had become even sharper. Facing the gazes of his other 4 disciples, Lin Rei felt a headache and his heart bled. But there was nothing he could do. He had promised before, and now he couldn't go back on his word. Thinking about that, Lin Rei could only nod in agreement. "Alright, you naughty girl. I don't know where you learned this from, but your mouth is so smooth." Saying that, he couldn't help but glance at Cullen, who was not far away. There was a smile in his eyes, and he looked very kind. But when little 5 Cullen noticed his gaze, he smiled bitterly in his heart. "Master, it's not me. What does senior sister's mouth have to do with me?" Of course, he didn't dare to say that out loud. After all, at this juncture, he would be courting death. Staying silent was undoubtedly the best choice right now. Some people were happy while others were sad. Lin Wanyu was indeed very happy at this moment. "Thank you, Master. I knew you loved me the most." Saying that, she opened her hands and handed it to Lin Rei, as if she wanted to give it to him quickly. Sigh. Helpless, Lin Rei directly lost contact with the ring on his hand, and then obediently put it in his boss's hand. "I personally refined this interspatial ring. Although it's not a saint item, it's already at the quasi-saint level. Treasure it well." As he spoke, he looked at the ring with reluctance. His heart was bleeding. That ring was just refined not long ago. The materials used were all top grade, and the space inside was very large. Of course, the biggest advantage was the passage of time. Cultivating in the ring, a year outside would only pass in an hour inside the ring. This ratio of time was very beneficial. "Thank you, Master." Saying that, Lin Wanyu walked to the side and looked at the ring in her hand lovingly. "Master, At this moment, the other 4 disciples came up one by one. Lin Rei could only endure the pain in his heart and give them what they wanted one by one. 4 hours later, Ying and Lin returned. Seeing the 5 disciples looking at the magic treasures in their hands excitedly and her husband's gloomy face, they immediately understood what was going on. Then she said, "Husband, disciples, the food is ready. Let's eat." "Yes, Master's wife, let's eat and celebrate. We'll instantly thank Master for giving us this treasure." At this moment, Lin Wanyu was the first to come back to her senses and quickly said. Lin Rei said, "You really dare to say that?" Of course, Lin Rei only muttered this sentence in his heart. On the surface, he put on a smile. However, this smile was uglier than crying. Looking at everyone, he said, "Let's go. After the meal, you can do your own things. I'll give you a month's rest. We'll talk again after a month." After saying that, Lin Rei took a step forward and instantly disappeared on the spot. "Haha, I didn't expect that you would make your master so gloomy. I'm afraid that in this world, only the few of you dare to treat him like this." After saying that, she waved at the 5 of them and walked in the direction where Lin Rei had disappeared. "Let's go." Looking at her junior brothers and junior sisters, as the eldest senior sister, she naturally had to take the lead. She led everyone and chased after Lin Rei. In the conference hall of the Talisman Sect, 3 old men and a young man were sitting together and seemed to be discussing something. What? Just now, the disciple reported that there are still a few emperor gods and ultimate gods in the Talisman Sect? At this moment, one of the old men looked at the other 3 in shock. How is this possible? This is impossible. If there really are more of them, why didn't we notice their existence previously? Moreover, aren't there only a few ultimate gods in the Talisman Sect? How is it possible that there are more of them? Could it be that the few old fellows in the Talisman Sect lied to me? As he spoke, a murderous aura rushed out and filled the entire hall. Suddenly, the temperature in the hall gradually dropped until it reached the freezing point. Sigh. Old man, can you stop showing off your murderous aura every time? Moreover, things aren't as bad as you said. At this moment, another old man spoke. However, his face was filled with helplessness as he looked at the old man who had just spoken. Old Shin, although ultimate gods aren't a threat to us, the sudden appearance of so many cultivators, that's enough. Can you listen to me? The old man who was changed to Old Shin looked at the old man and said, Actually, I've thought about the situation that disciple discovered earlier. However, I don't think the few old fellows in the Talisman Sect would lie to us. Moreover, they wouldn't dare to do so. Therefore, I think that even the people in the Talisman Sect don't know that there are people with higher cultivation than them in their sect. What? The old man was shocked when he heard this. At the same time, he was filled with doubt. He didn't understand why someone with such powerful cultivation would lower himself to be an elite disciple in a sect. Don't say what? I don't know the answer to your question, but what? We can go and take a look. After all, the Talisman Sect is now under our jurisdiction. If there are any uncertain factors, we should first see if they are friends or foes. If they are willing to submit to us, it's fine. If not, kill. At this moment, the only young man spoke. However, he only spoke the word kill. Yes, I agree with Lingbai. Now that we are here, it's better to eliminate any uncertain factors as soon as possible. Sigh. After hearing the opinions of the few people, the matter was finally decided. Moreover, Lingbai would go and investigate. Just like Lingbai had said, if they were willing to submit to him, they would be at peace. If not, they would be killed. However, Lin Rei and the others who were sitting at the dining table in the courtyard were completely unaware of this. Danger was approaching and would arrive very soon. At this moment, Lin Rei and the others were gathered together. They were happily eating and chatting. They were having a good time. Master, do you have any high-level footwork? I feel that the footwork that I am using now is a little, Suddenly, Lin Rei stood up abruptly. He looked into the distance and a murderous aura fluctuated. However, he quickly withdrew his murderous aura. What's going on? Ying, who was standing at the side, sensed her husband's strange behavior. She also stood up and looked in the direction that Lin Rei was looking at. Immediately, she released her divine consciousness and enveloped the entire Talisman Sect. There is someone. Ying's face turned gloomy when she saw a young man rushing towards her at lightning speed. Especially when she was unable to detect the other party's cultivation base. Voila! At this moment, the remaining few people regained their senses and reacted. They stood up abruptly and were ready to fight at any time. Master, we... At this moment, Lin Wanyu looked extremely serious. Her playful attitude from before had completely disappeared. It's all right. Let's continue eating. When Lin Rei turned his head and saw that they were so nervous, he smiled and sat down again. He then picked up his chopsticks and continued eating. However, no one dared to disobey Lin Rei's orders. In the end, they sat down again. However, they were feeling uneasy. Sigh. A good meal has been ruined by that bastard. When Lin Rei saw that everyone had lost interest in eating, he was filled with anger. He looked into the distance and muttered coldly, "You better not provoke me. Otherwise, even if you are the king of heaven, I will still kill you, let alone the fact that you are a mission given by the system. Bang! As soon as Lin Ray finished muttering, a loud bang was heard. The formation that enveloped the courtyard was instantly broken. A figure instantly appeared in front of Lin Ray and the others. Heh, you are quite elegant. You are still in the mood to eat when disaster is about to befall you. Not bad. Interesting. The young man was none other than Ling Bai, who had come to investigate. Chapter 905. Scram. What? Ling Bai was stunned when he heard the sudden words. His face instantly turned gloomy and killing intent rushed out of his body. He looked ferociously at Lin Ray, who just said scram. As he looked at Chen Shi, Ling Bai's killing intent rose explosively. The words "fuck off" were so ear-piercing to his ears. Moreover, all these people before him were ants of the divine dimension, whereas he was a high and mighty saint that was divine and inviolable. How could he who was proud and arrogant endure the disrespect of an ant that possessed a lower cultivation than him? Heh, you're really interesting. At this time, before Lin Ray could speak, Lin Wanyu, who was standing at the side, could not stand it anymore. A mocking expression appeared on her face as she sneered. Scram? You don't even know? That's right, eldest senior sister. Since he doesn't know, I'll explain it to him properly. Little Fool smiled estranged. He looked at Ling Bai with a mocking expression and was neither servile nor overbearing. It was as if he was facing a cultivator of the same level as him. Yes, I can definitely do it. Since that's the case, I'll leave Little Fool to you. Remember, you must explain it properly. Otherwise, I'm afraid his ears are stuffed with donkey hair and he won't be able to hear it. Or maybe his brain is not good and I'm afraid he won't understand. Hee, don't worry, senior sister. Little Fool looked at Ling Bai, who had an extremely unsightly expression, and then explained to him with a grin. All right, monkey. The so-called scram is to put your hands on your head, bend your legs, and let your back roll. This is scram. I believe you understand. Otherwise, I'm afraid your sect will become a laughing stock. Ha ha! In an instant, when Little Fool said those words, everyone present, including Lin Ray, could not hold back and laughed directly. They did not hide or avoid the taboo in the slightest. They pointed at Ling Bai's nose and made fun of him in front of a saint. However, at this moment, Ling Bai's anger had reached its peak. At this moment, he might explode with another word. Looking at the people in front of him, Ling Bai was sullen and angry. Usually, when divine emperors saw him, they would not even dare to speak loudly, let alone speak like this. Who knew that the people in front of him were all suicidal? What happened to us? Looking at Ling Bai, Lin Ray asked doubtfully, Aren't we talking about how your sect is educating you? Just the two of you? How many emperor gods and peak ultimate gods? Don't you think it's ridiculous? As he looked at Lin Ray, Ling Bai recalled his objective for coming here, and then he calmed the flames of rage in his heart before he continued. In my eyes, all of you are no different from ants. Moreover, as he spoke, his gaze landed on Lin Ray. His eyes were filled with disdain. Why do you think you can stay here? Isn't it because of our charity? Oh. Is that so? At this moment, Lin Ray's gaze was bone-chilling. The person in front of him had long been on Lin Ray's kill list. His appearance was a mistake. In Lin Ray's eyes, he was already a dead man the moment he appeared. Hell, what do you think? Ling Bai had never looked Lin Ray in the eye. After all, in his eyes, anyone who had not broken through to the saint realm was a pathetic ant at the bottom. Sigh. Why are there always people looking for trouble? You ruined a good meal. Tell me, what should we do? I told you to get lost before, but you didn't listen. Tell me, aren't you asking for trouble? He only spoke one word at a time, not taking Ling Bai seriously at all. He turned his head to look at his disciples and asked, You guys tell me, Today's celebration was ruined by him. My good mood is also gone. How do you think he should be dealt with? You're all courting death. At this moment, Lingbai could not take it anymore. Previously, when he was asked to get lost, he endured it for the sake of his objective. However, now it was obvious that they did not take him seriously. Master, there's no need for me to say anything. That idiot has already said it himself. Die, Kaloan mocked. Yes, old Five is right. He disturbed our mood while we were eating. Other than his life, the other things are not worth much. Yes. Perhaps I'll feel better if I can see a saint die at this time. Lin Rei. Stunned, Lin Rei shook his head helplessly for a time when he heard his disciples being so bloody, and then he nodded to himself and didn't notice Ling Bai's expression in the slightest. All right, there's really nothing you can do about it. However, since this is your intention, then his life shall end here. This exalted wants to see exactly who gave him the confidence to act so arrogantly in this place. You're courting death. At this moment, Ling Bai couldn't endure it any longer. Today, he'd been repeatedly looked down upon by people that he regarded as ants, and he'd completely forgotten about the mission from before. Killing everyone before him had already occupied Ling Bai's mind. Astral finger, one finger to destroy the stars. He moved. Lin Rei used the first combat technique that he'd cultivated. At this moment, when he used the astral finger, his realm naturally reached the level of returning to one's original state, and the profound meaning of the astral finger was even more clear. Lin Rei's left index and middle fingers formed a sword finger, and a touch of golden light shone on the sword finger like a star. Why? Seeing the person in front of him directly attacking without saying anything, this scene surprised him a little. After all, the gap between a godly venerable and a saint was like a chasm that was insurmountable. However, there was no fear in the eyes of the person in front of him. Instead, excitement occupied his expression. Especially earlier, after he felt the wisp of golden light flicker on his sword finger, Ling Bai felt a strand of coldness blow past his spine. However, this feeling flashed by and was then ignored by his own powerful strength. Xuanpa. Suddenly, the moment the astral finger was used, Lin Rei used Xuanpa, and in the next moment, his entire person disappeared silently from the spot. Ha, you actually want to use this kind of trashy footwork to avoid the detection of a saint. You're really… How is this possible? Before he could finish speaking, in the next moment, Ling Bai's expression suddenly changed, and his face was filled with disbelief. How is it not possible? In Ling Bai's detection, there was no trace of Lin Rei at all, let alone catching a trace of Lin Rei. Impossible. It must be beyond the range of my detection. Yes, increase the detection power. No matter what, Ling Bai didn't believe that Lin Rei, who was like an ant, could exceed his detection power. Subsequently, the detection power increased, and from the original 100-meter radius, it instantly spread to a radius of 1,000 meters, but, the more he searched, the uglier Ling Bai's expression became. If 1,000 meters wasn't enough, then 10,000 meters, but he still couldn't see Lin Rei's figure in his detection power. This time, Ling Bai panicked. Detection, TSK. Not a bad ability. However, do you think you can kill me with just this little ability? What? Just as Ling Bai's mind was filled with jealousy and nervousness, a cold voice filled with killing intent came from behind. Suddenly, Ling Bai's body trembled, and he instinctively turned around, wanting to cross his arms to protect his chest and defend. But would Lin Rei give him this opportunity? The answer was of course not. The moment Ling Bai turned around, the astral finger was instantly used. The astral finger instantly rushed out like a long spear, quickly and accurately aiming at Ling Bai's heart. Bastard, impossible. Feeling the killing intent, Ling Bai knew that if he couldn't dodge this attack, then he would be heavily injured in the next moment, or even die. At this moment, he finally understood that he had underestimated Lin Rei, underestimated Lin Rei, who was only a mid-hierarch. Fleeing shadow. Just when Lin Rei's astral finger was only a fist away from Ling Bai's chest, Ling Bai's figure suddenly became illusory. In just an instant, Ling Bai's figure completely disappeared. Poochie. A bloody light appeared at the spot where Ling Bai's figure disappeared. Looking at the bloody light, Lin Rei's lips curled into an evil smile, and the killing intent in his eyes grew even stronger. Huff! A series of panting sounds could be heard from afar. Ling Bai, who had disappeared, had now reappeared 1,000 meters away from Linley. However, at this moment, a bloody wound had appeared on Ling Bai's left shoulder, and scarlet blood was flowing out in an unending stream. Hiss! Feeling the pain coming from his left shoulder, Ling Bai was extremely shocked. At the same time, he was so shocked that he couldn't control himself. He wanted to know how a mid-hierarch cultivator could injure a saint expert with just one move. If this news were to spread back to the holy world, perhaps no one would believe it because it was simply impossible in the minds of the people in the holy world. You're quite capable. Looking at Ling Bai from afar, the corner of Lin Rei's lips curled up. He had long thought of Ling Bai since he was a saint. If he was killed by him in one move, then he wouldn't be called a saint. Of course, those who were killed by Lin Rei in one move were only those with low cultivation base, and the spiritual energy they cultivated wasn't pure at all. It could even be said that their spiritual energy was in a mess, so they were killed by Lin Rei in one move. However, Ling Bai was different. The traces of his cultivation base were as solid as an iron bucket, and the spiritual energy he cultivated was extremely pure, without a trace of impurity. Therefore, Lin Rei wasn't surprised at all that Ling Bai was able to withstand his attacks. However, Ling Bai was very depressed. How could he feel good when a cultivator with a lower cultivation base said that to him? Moreover, it was said by someone as arrogant and insufferably arrogant as him. Bastard, you, how dare you? Looking at Lin Rei and listening to his words, Ling Bai's heart was extremely sullen, but there was nothing he could do. He was injured, and this was an indisputable fact. Come, let's continue. I don't want to lose interest so quickly. After all, your cultivation base is still quite solid, unlike those fellows with superficial foundations from before. After saying that, he raised his hand, stretched out his index finger and hooked it at Ling Bai, and said seriously, "Pft." When this scene appeared, Lin Wanyu and the others behind him couldn't hold back and directly burst out laughing. What the hell is this? Is this a provocation? Very good, very good. You've successfully angered me. Looking at Lin Rei, Ling Bai straightened his back, and with a swing of his right hand, a long spear appeared in his hand. At this moment, the aura on Ling Bai's body changed a little. It became even more fierce and sharp, and it was like a completely different person compared to when Ling Bai refined it earlier. Not bad, this is more like it. Although he said that, Lin Rei didn't take out the primal Chaos Dragon Spear. It was for no other reason than that he wanted to test how strong his current physical body was. After being punished by the system, Lin Rei faintly felt that his physical body was even closer to that of a saint. Blazing Prairie. He moved. Although his left shoulder was injured, Ling Bai didn't care at all. At this moment, there was only one thought in his mind, and that was to kill Lin Rei, kill the person in front of him who caused him to be wronged, injured. Whoosh! Ling Bai's figure disappeared from where he was and instantly appeared in front of Lin Rei as fast as lightning. Ling Bai grabbed a long spear in his hand and directly swept it towards Lin Rei. But I didn't expect your spear Dao to be so simple. You've reached the realm of one with the spear. You can. Looking at the long spear that was rushing towards him, Lin Rei didn't dare to be careless, and he didn't dare to be careless. Slashing hand, first move. Suddenly, his fist turned into a palm. Close combat was the best for Lin Rei. One had to know that he wasn't only on the path of chi refinement, but also on the path of body refinement. Close combat. Few, using the slashing hand, he directly released 80% of his physical body and collided with the long spear. Bang, a muffled sound was heard, but neither of them retreated. Both of them were shocked at the same time. Then, they instantly changed their moves and collided with each other. Dong! Dong! Ding, ding, ding. This time, the muffled sound of weapons colliding was constantly heard. The speed was getting worse and worse. Even Ing and Bing, who were great perfection ultimate gods, could only see two shadows colliding with each other from time to time. What's going on? Why hasn't my husband won this time? Ing began to worry when she saw the two shadows colliding. After all, he had killed a saint before, but the speed was far slower than the current time. It's okay. Believe in our husband. He can defeat all obstacles in front of him. At this time, Ing comforted her. Sigh. Looking at the battle, Ing sighed worriedly and stopped talking. She turned around and focused on watching the battle. However, she was still nervous. Her hands were tightly clenched together at this moment. Perhaps because she was too worried about Lin Rei, her hands were red but she didn't feel it. However, at this moment, Ing and the others did not know that Lin Rei, who was in the battle, was very happy. It was not for anything else, but because he knew the strength of his physical body. 80%. Just by activating 80%, he could fight head-on with a middle-stage Dao fruit with strong marks and not be at a disadvantage. Lin Rei could be said to have fulfilled his wish. Since he knew the strength of his physical body, and during the battle with Ling Bai during this period of time, he had completely adjusted the discomfort caused by the increase of his physical strength to perfection. In this way, Lin Rei had to thank Ling Bai. If it were not for him, he would have to wait for a while to know the strength of his physical body. When there was happiness, there would be unhappiness. Just like Ling Bai, whose mood was completely different from Lin Rei's at the moment. At this moment, Ling Bai could be described as being in a sorry state. There was a hole in his clothes, and his hair was extremely messy. The scarlet blood at the corner of his mouth was very eye-catching, and both of his arms were bruised. If one were to describe the situation of this battle, then, it was obvious that the outcome was certain. Chapter 906. Pooh! A mouthful of scarlet blood sprayed out from Ling Bai's mouth as his figure swiftly flew backwards. His face was ghastly pale to the extreme, and his heart was filled with extreme terror. Accompanying the terror was endless shock. He originally thought it was because he was careless, but the more he fought, the more Ling Bai understood that it wasn't because of carelessness at all, and it was because he wasn't a match for Lin Rei at all. After flying 100 meters away, Ling Bai stopped his body with great difficulty. However, because his entire body felt as if it had fallen apart, his legs didn't listen to him, and he knelt in the air while trembling, and cold sweat couldn't help but appear on his forehead. It was like it was afternoon, and it couldn't be stopped at all. Huff! Huff! He gasped for breath and endured the pain as he raised his head to look at Lin Rei. Looking at him, Ling Bai suddenly felt that the figure of this man before him was so imposing and insurmountable. So it turned out that he didn't know anything before. Ha! How laughable! He lowered his head and laughed with ridicule. He wasn't ridiculing Lin Rei, but ridiculing himself, ridiculing his own uselessness. He was actually unable to defeat a cultivator with a lower cultivation than him. Just now, he even took him to be an ant. If the person he took was an ant, then what about him? What was he? Even an ant wouldn't go? In the distance, Lin Rei stood on the spot with a face full of smiles. Looking at Ling Bai, who was laughing and shaking his head, Lin Rei spoke. You're really not bad, you're even stronger than the saints I killed before. This was something that Lin Rei was extremely sure of. But, as he spoke, a wisp of killing intent instantly charged out, and his expression was icy cold to the extreme. I've already said it before, fuck off or die. Unfortunately, you chose death, so, you really dare to kill me? Do you know who I am? If you kill me, the Sioux clan of the Holy World won't let you off, and even the Beast Control Sect won't let you off. You have to think clearly. The Beast Control Sect is one of the 10 great sects of the Holy World. Are you sure you want to offend them? Of course. As he spoke, Ling Bai was afraid of provoking Lin Rei, so he immediately changed the topic. As long as you let me off, I'll act as if I didn't know what happened today, and I won't look for trouble with you again. What do you think? Beast-controlling sect? Lin Rei was stunned when he heard about the sect. One of the 10 great sects of the Saints' world was a piece of useful information to Lin Rei without a doubt. Of course, if the person that defeated Ling Bai wasn't Lin Rei but someone else, then perhaps he would be afraid of the Beast Control Sect. Unfortunately, the person he encountered wasn't someone else, but Lin Rei. As for the Beast Control Sect that Ling Bai spoke of, it was only a joke in Lin Rei's opinion. So what if they were from the beast-controlling sect? In front of him, they were at most an existence that had cultivated for a long time. As long as he had enough time, in 10,000 years, the beast-controlling sect, even if it was the 10 great sects of the Holy World, as long as Lin Rei was given enough time, the 10 great sects of the Holy World would change their positions. So Lin Rei didn't take Ling Bai's threat seriously at all. It wasn't just him. Even Ing and the others behind him didn't take Ling Bai's words seriously because they didn't care. Your suggestion isn't bad. Lin Rei looked at Ling Bai and spoke. Yes. So long as you let me go, I'll absolutely not. Before Ling Bai could finish speaking, Lin Rei had interrupted him. Yes, the beast-controlling sect is very strong indeed, and your suggestion isn't bad indeed. But unfortunately, I never like to leave behind future troubles, and I hate it even more when others threaten me. Besides that, what qualifications do you have to propose a deal with me? You! Could it be that you, alas? Lin Rei shook his head helplessly for a time when he saw Ling Bai was still struggling pointlessly, and then he strode slowly through the air step by step towards Ling Bai. What should I say to you? Lin Rei spoke as he looked at Ling Bai. Since you arrived here, your fate was already decided. When you refused my suggestion, your life already didn't belong to you, and the reason you're still alive now is because I haven't been in such a hurry to kill you. But, as he spoke, Lin Rei suddenly thought of something, and then a strange smile appeared on his face, and he turned around to look at Lin Wanyu and the others behind him. *CK. Master hasn't smiled like this for a long time. This time, there won't be any trouble coming up, right? At this moment, the instant she saw Lin Rei reveal a strange smile, Lin Wanyu's heart thumped, and a bad premonition surged in her heart. However, the instant this thought appeared, Lin Rei's voice sounded in everyone's mind. Children, Master thought of an especially good idea just now. It can not only increase your strength, but also allow you to accumulate combat experience. *CK, it really is. Hearing this, Lin Wanyu subconsciously looked at Ling Bai, who was kneeling on the ground in the distance, and her heart thumped. She subconsciously asked Lin Rei, Master, you can't be thinking of making us fight that person, right? At this point, a light flashed in Lin Rei's eyes. Lin Wanyu, who had been observing Lin Rei's deep emotions, smiled bitterly in her heart, because at this moment, she was very sure that her idea was correct. Little you is still the smart one. Saying this, Lin Rei's eyes flashed with admiration, and he continued, In a while, Master will seal his cultivation. Of course, not all of it, at most. His cultivation will be suppressed to the early stage of ultimate God, and all of you can attack him to your heart's content. Saying this, his eyes fell on the third disciple, Lin Xianyuan. Including you, you can also attack together. It will be a good test of your strength during this period of time. Master, we. At this moment, Lin Wanyu and the others' faces turned pale, and they wanted to refute on the spot. Alright, that's enough. This matter is decided. Without waiting for his disciples to speak, Lin Rei gave the order, and then turned to look at Ling Bai and said, I believe that you have heard what we said just now, so, you are a demon. You want me to be the whetstone for your disciples, you. How could Ling Bai not know Lin Rei's intention, but did anyone ask him if he was willing? That's right, I also know that you are not willing, but do you have a choice? After saying this, Lin Rei withdrew his smile, and then raised his hand, and used his cultivation to instantly use the Shibei hand, and suppressed Ling Bai from top to bottom. After doing all this, Lin Rei divided his attention and entered the system, and came to the space where the little dragon was. Looking at the little dragon in the middle of the lake, Lin Rei smiled, and came in front of the little dragon in a flash, and said, Little dragon, do me a favor, how about it? Little dragon. He knew everything that happened just now, and he also knew why Lin Rei came in. I caught a saint, and his strength is not bad. I want to use him as a whetstone for my useless disciples, but his cultivation is too high, so I want to refine his cultivation and seal it to the early stage of godly venerable. However, it is too difficult for me, and only my combat power has reached the saint realm, if you want me to seal it. So, I thought of you first, don't you think I am very smart? The space was quiet, and the little dragon did not speak from the beginning to the end, and it could even be said that he did not even lift his eyelids. Little dragon, don't be so heartless, okay? Didn't I do all this to prepare for entering the holy realm? You just help me symbolically, just help me suppress the cultivation of a saint, okay? Still, the little dragon did not make any sound, and at this moment, seeing the little dragon like this, Lin Rei's short temper could no longer hold back and directly came up with a solution. He reached out and pointed at the little dragon's nose and directly shouted, I say, kid, that's enough. My attitude is already like this, what else do you want? Just a little something for you to do? Look at your dilly-dallying appearance, you're just like a girl. Can you still do it? Sigh, my short temper. Seeing that the little dragon was indifferent, Lin Rei's anger disappeared in an instant, and a pleading expression appeared on his face. Little dragon, please help me. Look at how much I worry about my disciple. My hair is turning white, please help me, okay? Sigh. Finally, the little dragon made a sound, but this sound was a sigh, but no matter what, it was a good sign that it made a sound. In this regard, hearing that the little dragon finally made a move, he stood up straight, and his pleading expression became even stronger. Little dragon, you woke up in the afternoon, what do you think about this matter? I'm convinced by you, kid. Opening his eyes, he looked at Lin Rei with a helpless expression. I was resting well, but you just had to come and bother me. He wanted to refute, but when he thought about what the little dragon said, it seemed that his mouth had not stopped since he came in. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as a yes. Seeing that Lin Rei was speechless, he continued, Look at you, Lin Rei comes to me no matter what, can you do it? Hearing this, Lin Rei felt that it was a little familiar, wasn't this what he said before? Even so, Lin Rei did not speak after all, he had a favor to ask. That's what you get for talking so much. Seeing Lin Rei's sullen look, the little dragon secretly thought, of course, as a smart person, he knew when to stop. All right, let's go out and have a look. I'd like to see someone who can make you praise his cultivation. Okay. Seeing that the little dragon agreed, Lin Rei was excited, and disappeared from the system space in a flash, returning to his original body. Is that him? At this time, the little dragon's voice came into his ears. Lin Rei came back to his senses and looked up at the little dragon in front of him, who was sitting in the air. Lin Rei nodded. Yes, that's him. Although he's no match for me, his traces are solid. He doesn't seem to have been improved by the use of medicinal pills at all. So, I might as well use him as a whetstone for those little brats. Heh kid, you're really daring. Hearing Lin Rei's idea, the little dragon pursed his lips and smiled. However, I'm afraid you're the only one in this world who dares to think like that. How about it, can you seal him to early stage Supreme Ultimate God? Looking at the little dragon, Lin Rei asked. Tsk no. What? Linley had been filled with anticipation, but in the end, all he got was a no from Xiaolong. Instantly, Linley was stunned. I said no. Looking at Lin Rei, the little dragon said angrily, Didn't I say before that sealing a saint is a big project? Hearing the little dragon's explanation, Lin Rei really wanted to scold at this time. Why didn't you say you couldn't do it if you knew? You made me speak to you in such a humble manner. Although he muttered in his heart, he did not say it out loud. However, this result was also within his expectations. After all, this matter was really difficult. Being able to become a saint basically meant that one had already begun to understand the laws, so, although it can temporarily suppress his cultivation, and, as he said that, his eyes looked at Lin Rei and said, The system space itself is like a spatial instrument. The great Tao inside is complete. As long as his cultivation is suppressed and sent into the system, using the system space's function, it's still possible to suppress his cultivation to what you expect. The situation had turned around and Lin Rei, whose heart was in turmoil, laughed for a moment. What's this for? Are you kidding me? Remember, don't disturb my cultivation for no reason in the future. Otherwise, I'll let you know that I have a very bad temper. At this moment, Lin Rei completely knew that the little dragon was taking real revenge on him for disturbing him before. However, when he thought about how he could suppress a saint and use it as a whetstone for his useless disciples, he did not care so much about this matter. Alright, since you can, hurry up. There's more than one saint in the Talisman Grandmaster. As he said that, Lin Rei urged. So what? Those saints are not a threat to you at all. Yes, I know, but it's troublesome and… As he said that, he looked at Ling Bai. The seal has not been completely unsealed, so I don't want to go against them so soon. Also, I finally have a few days of rest. Who would want to fight and kill at such a time? Alright. In the face of Lin Rei's reason, the little dragon could only nod helplessly. Seal. As soon as he finished speaking, the little dragon turned around and unleashed his cultivation. Suddenly, a terrifying cultivation appeared in an instant. Of course, this cultivation pressure was controlled to the extreme by the little dragon. Only Lin Rei could sense it. As soon as the word seal came out of his mouth, a mysterious and fast hand technique instantly appeared on the little dragon's hand. A huge amount of energy rushed out of his body and rushed into Ling Bai's body. What's going on? My cultivation, Ling Bai, who was suppressed by the Sli Bei hand, had a sudden change in his expression. His eyes lost focus. At this moment, he felt that his cultivation had been suppressed to the early stage of the Saint Realm. It was as if he had just broken through to the Saint Realm and his foundation was unstable. How could this be? Ling Bai stared and roared. At this moment, Ling Bai seemed to have gone mad as he waited for Lin Rei to answer. However, Lin Rei did not have the slightest chance against Ling Bai. His gaze was fixed on the little dragon's actions. Alright, quickly put it away and use your identity as the system master to seal this fool a second time. Alright. The moment the little dragon said that, Lin Rei, who was already prepared, quickly nodded. With a thought, Ling Bai instantly disappeared from his spot and entered the system space. Then, Lin Rei used his identity as the system master to seal him a second time. Chapter 907. After doing all this, Lin Rei was relieved at this moment. Although he had only sealed Ling Bai's cultivation at the middle stage Ultimate God Realm, He believed that with such strength, his disciples would not be in danger. Of course, just in case, Lin Rei had to make a backup plan. Thinking about it, he turned his head to look at the little dragon. I'll have to trouble you during this period of time. After all, although the cultivation of those disciples is not bad, the opponent is a saint after all, so, sigh. The suggestion, coupled with Lin Rei's pleading gaze, made the little dragon sigh and nod helplessly. Okay, hurry up and get lost. Every time you come, I can't calm down. I'll help you look after your disciples, but, as he spoke, he looked at Lin Wanyu and the others and continued, I won't do anything unless their lives are in danger. You have to understand this. After all, you hope that they can make a breakthrough at the edge of life and death to accumulate combat experience. Yes, I understand this. Lin Rei already knew that the little dragon agreed. Just do as you say. As long as their lives are not in danger, you don't have to do anything. However, if that guy's life is in danger, you have to do something. He's still very useful now, so he can't die. Io long-winded. Don't I know this? Impatient, the little dragon directly urged Lin Rei to leave. Hurry up and leave. Remember, don't come back for a while. Even if you come, I won't see you. Seeing the little dragon like this, Lin Rei smiled awkwardly, then nodded, bowed, and then left the space with a thought. Damn, I'm finally gone. I can finally have a good rest. As he spoke, a relaxed expression appeared on his face. Then, his figure came to the lake, sat cross-legged, and closed his eyes to rest. In the outside world, Lin Rei, who had exited the system space, came back to his senses. He looked at Lin Wanyu and the others, and then a smile appeared on his face. However, in the eyes of Lin Wanyu and the others, this smile was extremely cold and terrifying. It was as if something bad was about to happen. Master, please don't laugh like that. You're making us feel weird. I keep feeling that something bad is about to happen. That's right, Master, you should be more normal. We like it when you keep a straight face. That way we feel more at ease. Yes, I think eldest senior sister and second senior brother are right. Master, if you do this, we... Lin Rei. Hearing the words of his disciples, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, his smile disappeared and his face turned cold. That's more like it. That's your signature, Master, Little Five Cullen blurted out, but he regretted it as soon as he finished speaking. Because at this moment, the other senior brothers and sisters were looking at him in shock. Alas! Suddenly, a sigh came out of Lin Rei's mouth. He looked helpless and said, You guys... He felt helpless towards his disciples, but he didn't want to waste any more time. Thus, he began to instruct his disciples. I've already told you before. This time, what you need to do is to make breakthroughs in your cultivation as much as possible in the next few years. As for how to break through, I've already told you. Just now, Ling Bai has been subdued. His cultivation base has been suppressed to the intermediate ultimate god realm by me. For now, the few of you have to defeat him and suppress him. Of course, this is only the first phase. As for the next phase, when you complete the first phase, the second phase will begin. Ling Bai's cultivation base will automatically rise to the peak late ultimate god realm. Then, he looked at their faces and smiled playfully. He continued, so on and so forth. There are a total of 4 missions. As long as you can complete these 4 missions, you'll be able to graduate. When the time comes, you'll become a saint and enter the holy world. Then, you can leave and establish your own sections. Of course, this is your own choice. You can do whatever you want. When the time comes, I won't care about you anymore. After all, becoming a saint is enough for me. The path after that will depend on you. Master, we... At this moment, Lin Wanyu's face turned gloomy. She wanted to say something, but the moment she opened her mouth, she was choked back by Lin Rei's words. Alright, that's all for now. I'll give you a month to adjust. After a month, come and find me. I'll send you to that space. Do you understand? At this moment, the 5 of them looked at each other and nodded. We understand. Good, as long as you understand. Looking at them, Lin Ray nodded happily. All right, if that's the case, then go. Don't forget that you have a month's time. After saying that, Lin Ray waved his hand and dismissed the disciples. As for the food in front of them, Lin Ray believed that it was no longer of any use to them. Yes, we'll take our leave. After saying that, the 5 of them separated and disappeared. After Lin Ray watched the disciples leave, he slowly retracted his gaze and sat down on the chair. At this moment, after waiting for everyone to leave, Ing spoke. She looked at her husband and asked, "Husband, what are we going to do next?" This was the question she wanted to know the most. Originally, they said that they were going to train the disciples, but now that they had Ling Bai as a whetstone, she was afraid that her husband would go into seclusion. Yes, husband, what are we going to do next? Now that the disciples have Ling Bai as a whetstone, are you going to go into seclusion or? Lin Ray turned his head to look at his 2 wives and smiled playfully. Then, he pulled his 2 wives into his arms and said with an evil smile, "Tisk, about that, I haven't thought about it. However, it's impossible for me to go into seclusion. I won't be able to go into seclusion for some time in the future. As for what I'm going to do, I haven't thought about it yet. However, what I need to do now is to finish this meal. Only then will I have the strength to think about it, right?" "Yes." At this moment, the 2 women smiled. After hearing that Lin Ray was not in seclusion, the haze in their hearts instantly dissipated. "Let's eat." After saying that, the 3 of them started to eat. Perhaps it was because they had solved the problem of the disciples' cultivation. Lin Ray's appetite was especially good. However, while one family was happy, there were others who were sad. Although Lin Ray was happy, the few old men who sent Ling Bai were not. Because they were only going to investigate. Even if they were to really take action, it would not take half a day. Moreover, when they found out that something was wrong, the 3 old men released their perception to search for Ling Bai's location. However, the result was not very ideal. The entire talisman sect, and even an area of 10,000 miles, appeared in the minds of the few old men. The scene was extremely clear. Even the ants on the ground could be seen extremely clearly. However, only Ling Bai's figure could not be seen. It was even to the extent that they could not detect Ling Bai's aura at all. At this moment, the few old men could not help but be shocked. Ling Bai's cultivation was at the intermediate stage of the Saint realm. He was extremely rare among the few of them. However, he had suddenly disappeared, and they could not detect any information about him. At this moment, the 3 old men were gathered together in the Talisman Sect's discussion hall. Their expressions were indescribably solemn, and their brows were tightly knit together. The atmosphere was extremely tense, and the scene was oppressive. At this moment, one of the old men could not help but speak. "Say, why don't all of you think of a way? Ling Bai is not a saint. He's a genius nurtured by the sect. Even though he's not a first-rate genius, he was still nurtured by the sect at any rate. Now that he has disappeared just like that, if news of this were to spread, what would happen to our sect's face?" The more he spoke, the more anxious he became. He could not understand how a Saint Realm cultivator could disappear from the divine world. "Alas, you're anxious, and we're anxious as well. However, don't all of you feel that this matter is slightly strange?" When they heard this, the 2 old men looked at him and said in a serious voice, "What do you mean? Perhaps we're all wrong. Perhaps Ling Bai's disappearance is related to those people in the courtyard? Even though their cultivation is obvious, what if those people can defeat a saint or have a way to deal with a saint? Perhaps... All right. It seems like you can't help us with Ling Bai's matter." He looked at Old Ghost and continued, "What are saints? They're existences that have comprehended the laws. What are divine venerables? They're merely existences that have touched the threshold of the grand Tao. Do you think what you said earlier is possible between these two? In any case, I don't believe it. You. Old Ghost wanted to refute Old Chen's words, but he choked back his words as soon as they left his mouth. It was for no other reason than Old Chen was right. The gap between a divine venerables and a saint was not just a little bit. Even he did not believe the truth he spoke earlier, let alone others. Perhaps this matter is really like what Old Ghost said. Suddenly, the old man who had not spoken since the beginning spoke. At that moment, Old Ghost and Old Chen turned to look at him in confusion, wanting to know what he meant. Looking at the two old men's expressions, Old Ghost smiled and said what he thought. Actually, Old Ghost, what you said might be true. There are all sorts of strange things in the awakened world. With how big the world is, who can guarantee that this matter won't happen? Moreover, Ling Bai disappeared after losing the Grand Tao, so, if you want to know where Ling Bai is, you might be able to get the answer from the Grand Tao. Hearing this, Old Ghost and Old Ghost hesitated. They did not want to believe it, but the old man's words made sense. How about this? I heard that the celestial world's master is familiar with the courtyard's owner. Now that things have come to this, we can't have a falling out, so I want the young miss to talk to them. If Ling Bai's matter is really related to them, then as long as they release Ling Bai, this matter will be over. Otherwise, is this it, miss? At this moment, Old Ghost hesitated, because this matter involved the miss they were talking about. At the same time, it was also a matter of Su Ziqing's safety. I think that's fine. Suddenly, Old Chen spoke. Since the young miss is familiar with them, why don't we let the young miss give it a try? Who knows, it might really work. At this moment, the three old men fell silent. None of them were silent. They were all thinking about the pros and cons of this matter. Not long after, a few minutes or even a dozen minutes passed. Old Ghost, who did not agree before, said, "Perhaps this is the only way. Perhaps this is the only way, but it might really bring us some information." Just like this, after the three old men agreed, they recorded what had happened on a jade slip. Then, they circulated their cultivation and poured their spiritual energy into the jade slip. Suddenly, the jade slip turned into a stream of light and soared into the sky. In the Talisman Sect's elite disciple residential area, in a courtyard that was not very big but was decorated very warmly, a woman was sitting in a pavilion. She was lying on a chair and reading a book, enjoying the nourishment of the sea of knowledge. Suddenly, the sound of something piercing through the air was heard. Then, a stream of light appeared and rushed before the woman. It turned into a jade slip and floated in the air before the woman. Isn't this the voice transmission jade slip I sent to those old fellows? Looking at the jade slip, the woman was confused. However, she still stretched out her hand and took the jade slip. Then, she placed it on her parent. After activating it, a stream of information rushed into her mind. 3 minutes later, the jade slip was separated from her forehead. The woman's face was filled with anger. Bastard! How dare he act on his own without my permission? This is really... However, she was confused. She knew how many sages there were. However, although she did not know much about Lin Rei and the others, she knew that Lin Rei could not defeat a sage. However, the jade slip mentioned that Ling Bai could be used at will in the courtyard. Thinking of this, the woman felt a headache. The woman was none other than the young lady mentioned by those old fellows in the Talisman Sect's conference hall, Su Ziqing. Sigh. She sighed. I should go and take a look. After all, Ling Bai was nurtured by my father. Thinking of this, Su Ziqing tidied up her appearance. Then, she took a step forward and disappeared from the courtyard. However, when she appeared again, she was already in front of Lin Rei's courtyard. I didn't want to come here. I had no choice. Thinking of this, Su Ziqing smiled. Then, she pushed open the door and walked toward the backyard. At this moment, she was like the owner of this place. She seemed to have forgotten why she came here. Moreover, she had forgotten that she was a guest. In the backyard, Lin Rei was sitting in front of the table. After eating, he was lying lazily on Ying's body. He was very uncomfortable. Someone is here. The moment Su Ziqing pushed open the door of the courtyard and stepped out of the door, Lin Rei sensed it. He immediately released his divine sense to investigate. The moment he saw Su Ziqing's figure, Lin Rei was stunned. He was puzzled. Why is she here? Who is it? At this moment, Ying asked. Su Ziqing. I don't know why she is here. Lin Rei answered all his wife's questions. He did not hide anything from her. It's her. Hearing that it was Su Ziqing, Ying did not frown. She had an impression of Su Ziqing. Not because of anything else, but because of Su Ziqing's appearance. Just as Lin Rei was puzzled, Su Ziqing's figure appeared in front of the three of them. She stood in front of Lin Rei. Seeing his actions, she frowned and bowed. Fellow Taoist Lin, please forgive me for disturbing you this time. However, one of my subordinates disappeared for some unknown reason. The place where he disappeared was none other than your residence. Thus, your subordinate. Hearing Su Ziqing's name, Lin Rei frowned. His killing intent faintly throbbed. That's right. I wonder where he is now, dead. Chapter 908. Boom! The news struck Su Ziqing like a bolt from the blue, instantly stunning him. The word dead was very sensitive to Su Ziqing. After all, the other party was a sage, not a god state expert. A cultivator with a sage token needed a lot of time, money, material resources, and many other things to cultivate. Moreover, Ling Bai was a person with great potential in the sect. Of course, more importantly, his father was the great elder of the outer gate. If Ling Bai died here, then, thinking of his father, the great elder of the outer gate, Su Ziqing was inexplicably worried. However, she couldn't be careless in the face of this matter. She also had a trace of hope in her heart that it was impossible because Lin Rei's cultivation was obvious. Facing a sage, a god state cultivator, how could he defeat him? Thinking of this, a forced smile appeared on her face. Then she laughed and said, "Oh, that? Lin Rei, don't joke. Ling Bai is a cultivator in the sage realm. You, a god state cultivator, how could you kill him? Moreover, I'm not far from here. If you really killed him, why didn't I feel any sound or aftermath of the battle?" She couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe it and didn't dare to believe it. Really? Without looking at Su Ziqing, he continued what he was doing. His words were full of disdain. "Although you know that I'm a god state cultivator, how can you be sure that I can't defeat a sage? Also," as he spoke, his tone suddenly changed. His words were extremely sharp, like a knife stabbing into Su Ziqing's heart. "You said that Ling Bai is your subordinate. That means you're also from the saints' world." This question was very obvious, but Lin Rei wanted to hear it from Su Ziqing. Yes, I'm from the holy world. I didn't tell you before, but, I don't care whether you tell me or not." Before Su Ziqing finished speaking, Lin Rei directly interrupted. "I don't care where you're from or what you're doing here. I only care about your subordinate and why the sect sent a sage here. Don't you know the difference between a sage and a god state cultivator? Or is this how your sect allows the saints to wreak havoc?" She wanted to say something, but she couldn't because this was an indisputable fact. The gap between the saint realm and the divine realm was right there. Moreover, she believed that if it weren't for Lin Rei's strength, she probably wouldn't be able to see him now. Seeing that Su Ziqing had nothing to say, Lin Rei said coldly. After that, he continued. "You came here to ask about Ling Bai. Since you know the answer, please turn around and leave." Your sect has crossed my bottom line by coming here for no reason, so I don't want to see any of you again. Oh, that's right. As if he had thought of something, his murderous aura instantly soared. All of a sudden, the temperature in the field dropped to the extreme, and a gust of cold wind blew gently. I hope that there won't be a next time. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I won't do anything. Perhaps I might just take action and have everyone from your sect know that I'm here. Although the divine world is not as good as the sacred world, this place is indeed not bad. The mountain behind the talisman sect is quite good. It can be used as a graveyard. If you are willing, I understand. Sensing Lin Rei's murderous aura, Suzy Ching's body trembled violently, and her face turned extremely pale. She bit her lips and could not help but burst into tears. She nodded with a slightly wronged expression, and then left. Even though she still didn't dare to believe it in her heart, she completely believed that if she or the members of her sect were to appear here again, it would really be as Linley had said. The call behind the talisman sect would be their burial ground. I didn't expect you to be from the sacred world. It seems that the people from the sacred world are really going all out for the two great Tao origins. Looking at Suzy Ching's back, Lin Rei smiled. His expression flashed, and his murderous aura surged. Lin Rei did not think that what he said earlier was a joke. Although he could not kill all of them, it was still necessary to teach them a lesson. Otherwise, they would think that he was easy to bully, and the great Tao origins would continue to come. However, the most effective method was to fight. It was enough to make them fearful. Only by doing so could he prevent unnecessary things from happening. Husband, if you do this, we'll miss Sue. At this moment, looking at Suzy Ching's dejected back, Ing could not help but ask. As a woman, she could feel that Suzy Ching liked her husband. However, Ing felt that Lin Rei's attitude and tone towards her was a little too much. Although the sage came here previously, she felt that Suzy Ching should not know about it. Otherwise, she would not have come here. Let's not talk about this anymore. It is already in the past. Moreover, since she is from the sacred world, there is no need for us to interact with each other. After all, with my current identity, we might become enemies in the future. Lin Rei was very sure of this. Others might not know, but he knew very well that although his bloodline brought him endless benefits, it also brought him unprecedented danger. It was the same in the immortal world, the divine world, and the sacred world also had the heaven and earth sect. Moreover, he was not completely sure if the heaven and earth sect was the only sect that wanted to obtain his bloodline. Therefore, Lin Rei tried his best to avoid contact with the sects in the sacred world. Of course, this was for the current him. At this moment, the three old men did not leave the meeting hall. They were waiting for news from their young mistress and Ling Bai. Suddenly, a series of footsteps sounded. Abruptly, the old men turned around and looked at the door. Soon, Suzy Ching's figure appeared. Young mistress, how is it? Ling Bai. Old Ghost stepped forward and asked anxiously. Yes. Ling Bai has been gone for so long. It is impossible for him not to come back. Unless something happened to him, or... Hearing the questions of the elders, Suzy Ching raised her head. Her eyes reddened as she stared at these old fellows. Suzy Ching hated them to death. If it weren't for them, Linley wouldn't have treated her like this. The more she thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt, especially when she heard their questions. Then, Suzy Ching had an idea. She questioned the old men coldly. Who allowed you to send people? Did you ask for my permission? You clearly knew where I live. Yet, you still dared to send people. Is it because we are not in the sacred world? Do you not care about my identity as the young mistress? Do you know how stupid you are? If not for you, would the sect have lost a genius disciple? If not for you, I would not have lost a friend. Tell me, is this business worth it? You've suffered a double loss. This is the consequence of you acting on your own accord. A series of words stunned the old men. However, when they heard these words, they knew that there was a problem. Ling Bai's matter might really be related to the people in the random courtyard. Moreover, Ling Bai might really, thinking about it, the old men did not dare to think further. They did not dare to believe that a sage would be defeated by a god. However, Old Ghost could not help but want to know the answer. He looked at Su Ziqing and asked, "Young mistress Ling Bai, dead?" Chapter 909. Suddenly, Su Ziqing's words confirmed Old Ghost and the others' thoughts. However, they could not believe that it was true. On one side were the disciples of the Beast Drive sect from the Holy World, and on the other side were cultivators from the Divine World, who were only at the godly venerable realm. They could not believe that the cultivators from the Divine World had defeated the cultivators from the Holy World and even killed them in the end. It seems like there must be a way to defeat the saints in that group. If Old Ghost and the others had a greedy look in their eyes as they spoke. Regardless of whether it was Dharma treasures, combat techniques or cultivation techniques, they were all highly sought after. Look at all of you. Su Ziqing was disappointed when she saw the greedy look on Old Ghost and the others' faces. She did not expect the elders of her sect to be so greedy. This was not only a disgrace to the victorious party, but also to the Beast Drive sect. Alright, stop thinking about it. You should know that if you can kill Ling Bai, you have the ability to come to our sect. In other words, you can kill Ling Bai. Moreover, Lin Rei has said that this is the first time and he does not wish for there to be a next time. Otherwise, the valley behind the Talisman Sect's mountain is a good place with good feng shui. It's also a good place to bury bones. If you dare to act recklessly or appear in front of them, not only you, but I will also be buried in the mountain. Do as you deem fit. Su Ziqing did not want to stay there any longer. Looking at them, Su Ziqing wished she could stab each of them with a knife. She waved her hand and turned to walk out of the door. She no longer had any hope for Old Ghost and the others. She did not understand why her father, the sect leader of the Beast Drive sect, Su Mang, would allow these people to come down when they came to the lower realm. What should we do? Old Ghost turned around and asked the two in the main hall when he saw Su Ziqing leaving. Are we just going to let it go? If we can get that thing, then we might be able to fight those who are at a higher realm. By then, it's not impossible for us to become an inner sect elder. A yearning smile appeared on his face as he said that. It was as if he had already reached the level where he could fight those who were at a higher realm. Wake up. What are you thinking? Seeing Old Ghost like this, Old Chen didn't want to say anything. Didn't you hear? If we appear again, the mountain behind the Talisman sect will become our burial ground. Even the eldest young miss is no exception. Although you don't want to live anymore, what about your family? With that, Old Chen couldn't help but roll his eyes at Old Ghost before continuing. If the young lady is born here, those people will suddenly be hunted down by the sect master. But if this is because of us, then, hiss. Old Ghost sucked in a breath of cold air. Hearing Old Chen's reminder, Old Ghost suddenly came to his senses. That's right. If this matter is traced back to me, then, what about my family? He believed that if the first Miss Su Ziqing died because of them, according to the heart-shaped personality of the suzerain Su Mang, his family members might not survive the next moment. As long as Su Mang wanted, their families could appear in the ninth underworld at any time. There's no other way. Let's just forget about this matter. As for those people, we'd better not provoke them. Otherwise, not only will we not get the thing, but we will also lose our lives in the end. Then, the loss will outweigh the gain. With that, the old man went away and continued, although it's a little difficult to continue practicing at this age, but I don't want to die so soon. With that, He turned around and left. Oh, by the way, you'd better think about how to explain this matter to the great elder Lingxi. That old guy is very protective. If he knows that this matter has something to do with us, think about the consequences. The voice gradually faded away. When he finished speaking, the figure of the old man also disappeared in front of everyone and disappeared from the hall. With a flop, old Ghost directly sat on the ground without the image of a powerhouse. He smiled bitterly with a hopeless expression. Yeah, there are wolves in front and tigers in the back. Now we are in a dilemma. The road ahead has been completely blocked. Now let's think about how to go on the road behind. Otherwise, thinking of this, old Ghost couldn't help but shiver. Thinking of Lingxi, he wanted to cry. Sigh, let's take it one step at a time. At worst, we can push the blame of Ling Bai's death to that group of people. When the time comes, there will be no evidence. With that, the two of them looked at each other and smiled. Then they stopped talking. Time passed quickly like a white steed flitting across a crevice. Ever since Su Ziqing was driven away, Lin Rei left the Talisman Sect with his 2 wives and moved around the surrounding cities of the Talisman Sect. He didn't practice and only went sightseeing. Sometimes, he would find time to enter the system to visit his disciples and the sealed Ling Bai. During this period of time, Ling Bai felt like crying but had no tears. Looking at Lin Wanyu and the others getting stronger day by day, he really wanted to give himself a big slap. He thought of suicide many times. Moreover, he tried it out every time. However, every time when he tried to commit suicide, there would be an indescribable force that would destroy his plan. It was the same every time. Without exception, after trying many times, he knew that the path of suicide wouldn't work. Therefore, he chose to compromise because this was the only path in front of him. Regarding this, Lin Rei was very satisfied with her attitude. Even the murderous intent towards him was not as strong as before. In the blink of an eye, spring passed and autumn came. Year after year passed. Just like that, 10 years came and went as Lin Rei brought his wife to sightsee. At this moment, in Origin Water City, in Yunlai, Lin Rei was sitting by the window with his wife. He looked outside with an excited expression. It's been 10 years and the seal formula is about to be successfully unlocked. In that case, it's time to go back and complete the mission. He looked outside the window without blinking. Yes, it's been 10 years. It's time for you to go back and complete the mission. Moreover, you don't have much time left. It's better for you to complete it as soon as possible. I don't want to see you being obliterated by the system. At this moment, the little dragon appeared from the system and sat on the window. He looked at Lin Rei with a slightly urging expression. Yes, that's right. There are still a few years left. After the seal formula is completely unlocked, I will go back to the Talisman Grandmaster. As for this period of time, as he spoke, he looked at his 2 happy wives. It's better for me to spend more time with them during this period of time. After all, I don't know how long I will have to wait for such a day again. Moreover, after completing the mission, I will go and meet up with the Sakra. I hope that I won't be traveling with him on the Great Tao of Slaughter. Even if that's the case, what do you plan to do? Kill and let the Sakra devour and refine it? The little dragon asked. Sigh. How is that possible? Looking at the little dragon, his words were filled with bitterness. Through the communication with the Sakra, I can feel that he seems to have fallen in love with the Tianning that he mentioned. Although I can't kill her, there is a connection between the Great Tao. If I can find the Great Tao of Space through the Great Tao of Slaughter, that would be great. As for Tianning, forget it. I can still enter the Sage Realm with one Great Tao. Chapter 9-10. Yes, that's what I thought too. Looking at Lin Rei, the little dragon smiled. Although I can't devour and refine the Slaughter Tao, if I can absorb it, it'll be the same as having a powerful expert joining me. This way, you'll have more assurance when you enter the holy world. Besides, with the slaughter Tao joining you, you'll be like a fish in water when you enter the holy world. I hope the major sects in the holy world won't have a headache because of your appearance then. Lin Rei was speechless. Lin Rei was helpless against the little dragon's words. He smiled bitterly in his heart. I'm not as scary as you make me out to be. Plus, I'm still a child. I didn't mean to eavesdrop on your thoughts. It's just that your thoughts are too shocking. You. Seeing the little dragon's stunned expression, Lin Rei forgot that the little dragon could hear his thoughts. In an instant, he thought of what he was thinking and blushed instantly. Ha! I didn't expect that the fearless Lin Rei would be embarrassed. Tell me, how will your enemies react if they see this side of you? Thinking about it, the little dragon's expression became rich as though it had already seen that scene. Sigh. Lin Rei sighed helplessly at the little dragon and stopped talking. He knew that no matter what he said, he wasn't a match for the little dragon. In this matter, Lin Rei recognized the little dragon's ability to insult others. Tsk you brat. Seeing that Lin Rei didn't want to talk, the little dragon tactfully shut its mouth and entered the system in a flash. Lin Rei chuckled and looked at his two wives beside him. Looking at them, the corners of his mouth curled up and he said, After dinner today, we'll prepare to return to the Talisman Sect. Of course, the journey will be the same as before. We'll go sightseeing and have fun. What do you think? Are we going back now? Hearing her husband's words, Bing was stunned and subconsciously opened her mouth. However, the moment she blurted out the words, she immediately covered her mouth, as if she had said something wrong. Alas! Looking at Bing, Lin Rei replied, Yeah, we've been playing for a long time, and, as he spoke, he turned to look in the direction of the Symbol Sect. I still have some matters to attend to at the Symbol Sect, so I must return this time. However, I will not be staying at the Symbol Sect for long. But, at that time, we will have to start searching for the spatial Grand Tao. Time is of the essence. Thus, my apologies. It's all right, husband. Let's do as you say. We've been playing for a long time anyway. It's time to go back and have a look. Don't you think so, Bing-er? Ing said. Yes. Sister Ing-er is right. Since my husband wants to go back, then let's go back. Although she was extremely unwilling, she was still able to grasp the situation clearly. All right, since that's the case, it's decided. We'll return to the Symbol Sect after we finish our meal. As he spoke, a smile appeared on his face. At this moment, the dishes were placed on the table. As he looked at the fragrant dishes, Lin Rei's appetite was aroused and he began to eat without caring about his image. At this moment, Lin Rei did not notice that Ing did not take action. Instead, she was looking at him. Alas! It's enough. You've been compensating us for so long. It's really enough. Although we wish that we could continue living like this, I know that it's impossible. There are still many things waiting for you to take care of. Therefore, no matter what you do, Bing and I will always support you. The same thought also appeared in Bing's heart. Naturally, Lin Rei was unaware of this. At this moment, he was only concerned about two things. The first was the 10 years he had to complete his task of becoming the master of the Symbol Sect. The second was the food and wine in front of him. At this moment, Lin Rei did not want to think about anything else. In fact, he was too lazy to think about it. The meal did not last long. After that, the three of them stood up and paid the bill. Then, they flew toward the Symbol Sect. Their speed was not very fast. Of course, it was not very fast in Lin Rei's eyes. However, in the eyes of others, it was like a ray of light that disappeared with a swoosh. Half a month had passed. At this moment, in front of the Symbol Sect's mountain gate, Lin Rei had finally returned to the sect with Ing and Bing. After half a month, he had finally returned to the sect. There were still 2 days before the seal formula would be unlocked. After he stood still, he raised his head and looked at the 4 words symbol Sect above his head. A smile appeared on his face. Finally, I'm finally back. Just wait. I'm determined to complete my task. I'm about to come into contact with the power of life. I shouldn't be in such a hurry for a period of time after this. Thinking of this, Lin Ray felt relaxed. TSK relaxed? What are you thinking? Suddenly, the little dragon's teasing voice entered Lin Ray's ears. His originally good mood was immediately shattered by the little dragon. Lin Ray felt very helpless about this. However, he was already used to the little dragon's sudden cold water splashing. Xiaolong, can't you just let me enjoy this once? Can't you just pour cold water on me before you appear? You're always like this. Do you know that the shadow in my heart is almost as big as the entire divine world? After saying that, he rolled his eyes and let the little dragon experience it for himself. However, he had said this sentence countless times in the past. Yet, the little dragon just could not remember it. You're wrong. Seeing Lin Ray rolling his eyes, the little dragon laughed mischievously and looked at Lin Ray shamelessly. I'm constantly reminding you to not let your guard down. You must know that as long as you haven't reached the peak of the Tao, there will be no time for you to let your guard down. Besides, I think this is pretty good. At the very least, I didn't ask you for a reminder fee. You should feel lucky. Seeing the little dragon's serious expression, Lin Ray was completely speechless. Lin Ray no longer wanted to say anything in the face of the little dragon's shameless appearance. After saying that, he stopped communicating with the little dragon and stepped into the symbol Sect with his 2 wives and returned to the random courtyard. However, along the way, the little dragon's voice did not stop at all. He kept saying that his reminder was good and so on. In the beginning, it was fine. However, Lin Ray was so annoyed that he directly cut off the communication channel with the little dragon. For the next 2 days, Lin Ray basically stayed in the system space. On one hand, he was helping his 5 disciples understand things that they did not understand. On the other hand, he was watching them train so that they would not be lazy. However, on this day, just as Lin Ray was learning about C and Lin Yuro, the system's voice rang out in his mind. Ding, 10 years have passed. The frozen mode of the seal technique has been unlocked. Host, please check. Ding, the seal technique has been successfully unlocked. Host, do you want to set it up? Hearing the system's voice, the smile on Lin Ray's face grew wider and wider. He had been waiting for this day for 10 years. Now, his wish was finally about to come true. However, Lin Ray did not let his excitement get to his head. No. I'm not setting it up now. Wait for my notice. Chapter 9:11. The system grew silent. At this moment, Lin Ray was extremely excited. The seal technique had been completely unlocked. This meant that his mission would soon be carried out. He believed that as long as he used the seal technique, that group of sages would definitely give up the position of the Talisman Sect's sect master. Of course, before that, Lin Ray would not directly use the seal technique. After all, it would take 10 years for it to recover. Such a precious opportunity, it would be best not to use it if he could. Master, when can we rest? Look, we've been training for so long. Our cultivations have also increased. Suddenly, Lin Ray's voice was heard. Lin Wanyu's voice immediately woke him up. Lin Ray raised his head and looked forward. Seeing his boss's pleading gaze, Lin Ray was startled. After a moment of hesitation, he nodded and said, "All right. You all have been training for some time now. Furthermore, although your cultivations have increased, it would be useless if your cultivation did not increase." Oh yeah. Hearing those words, Lin Wanyu knew that the 5 of them would be able to rest. The more she thought about it, the more excited she became. She was so excited that she jumped up. However, at the moment when Lin Wanyu and the others were planning to celebrate, Lin Rei's voice was heard again. In order to allow you all to make breakthroughs in your cultivation while you rest, I've released you all and have you all search for Sakura for me. Follow him and listen to his orders. Ah! Their excited faces immediately collapse. They originally thought that they would be able to rest. Who would have thought that the result would be like this? Don't give me that expression. Remember, Sakura's orders are my orders. You all must unconditionally obey them. In a moment, I will send a voice transmission to Sakura. Therefore, do not try to be crafty. He is not me. Perhaps I might indulge you all. However, I believe that you all should know about Sakura. After saying that, he chuckled and turned around to leave. He knew that if he were to continue to stay here, his disciples would likely come forward to plead for him. At that time, he was afraid that he would not be able to withstand their coquettish and adorable behavior. With a flash, he disappeared from where he stood. In the room where Lin Rei was, Lin Rei returned to his original body. A smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Then, with a thought, he released Lin Wanyu and the others. However, their destination this time was indeed in front of the Talisman Sect, and it was for the sake of preventing them from acting cute and begging for pity. This is also a mission for you fellows. Similarly, there will be a competition between you fellows. As the saying goes, competition is motivation. Thus, I have decided that aside from third bro, whoever breaks through first will be rewarded with a sacred artifact, innate spirit treasure. Hiss! At this moment, at the entrance of the Symbol Grandmaster Sect, the few people who heard Lin Rei's words gasped. Their faces were filled with shock. Innate spiritual treasures were born from the heavens and earth. They could only be found in Hongmeng. It was extremely difficult for later generations to form innate spiritual treasures or even innate cardinal treasures. It was basically impossible. Therefore, being able to possess a natural spirit treasure was a supreme honor to them. With a plop, Lin Wanyu and the others directly knelt on the ground. They were extremely excited. Master, this time you have to keep your word. You can't go back on your word. Yes, Master, you can't go back on your word for the innate spiritual treasure. As long as one of us is the first to break through to the Supreme God level and consolidate his cultivation base, you have to give it to us. Yes, Master, remember, you can't go back on your word. Lin Rei was stunned when he heard the words of his beloved disciples. Then, he smiled bitterly. You fellows, when have I ever lied to you? You bunch of heartless little people. At this moment, Lin Wanyu and the others looked in the direction of the courtyard with strange gazes. Among them, Lin Wanyu muttered, You still say that you didn't lie to us. Previously, you said that we were going to rest. In the end, you made us carry out a mission. Master, you said that you would give me a sacred artifact 1,000 years ago. You even said that you would teach me combat technique. In the end, it's like a stone sinking into the sea. Yes, there's no need to panic. All right. Stop talking about it. Hearing his disciples tell him one thing after another, Linley's forehead was covered with 3 black lines, and his expression became even more exaggerated. You guys have really good memories. Lin Rei couldn't help but mutter in his heart. However, in order to ease the awkward atmosphere, he quickly changed the topic. All right, this matter is decided. Whoever breaks through first, I will give him a natural spiritual treasure. I will never go back on my word. If I go back on my word, I will let the Pishio be impotent for the rest of its life and be lonely for the rest of its life. It will choke to death when eating, choke to death when drinking water, fart and smelly fart. A series of oaths were made using the Pishio as a memory. Haha, Master, your slip of the tongue is really. Lin Wanyu smiled symbolically when she heard her master's slip of the tongue. Then, she stopped talking. Then, Master, we are leaving. The fifth disciple, Carl said. Go. In the room, Lin Ray looked at his disciples and said, Be careful on the road. You must reach Sakra's place as soon as possible. Remember, don't cause any trouble. Otherwise, the natural spiritual treasure will be gone. Do you all understand? We understand. Farewell, Master. After saying that, the 5 of them kowtowed heavily at the same time. Then, they got up and flew toward Sakra's place. They were so fast that they were like arrows that shot out of the bow and disappeared in an instant. Well, I have arranged for my disciples to go out. Next, it's time to go and see those old guys from the Holy World. I hope they are easier to deceive. I don't need to waste my time. Watching the backs of his disciples until they disappeared, Linley finally focused his mind and began to prepare. He got up and opened the door. At this moment, Ing and Bing were sitting in the middle of the courtyard, drinking tea and reading book. They were living a very comfortable life. Looking at them, Lin Ray smiled and came to them. He said, You two stay at home. I will be back soon after I settle some things. If things go well, we can come back today. Maybe we can leave this place in a few days and never come back. But if things don't go well, it may take some time. Where are you going? We will go too. Hearing their husband's words, Ing and Bing stood up abruptly. They looked like they were going to follow him to death. Don't go. I will be back soon in the Talisman Sect. Don't worry. Moreover, your husband is invincible in the divine world. Don't worry, After saying that, he gave them a reassuring look. Okay. Ing and Bing wanted to follow him, but they knew their husband well. It was impossible to change his mind. Therefore, they did not say much and could only compromise. Well, good girls. Then, I will go first. After saying that, without waiting for the two to respond, Linley's figure disappeared in the blink of an eye. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.